It's almost 10 o'clock, and we actually are going to try to slip Cheryl in here early because she thought we were going to start earlier. So let's go ahead, and there's Carl. Let's go ahead and move right into our budget hearing for the 2019 and 20 fiscal year. And although our schedule reflects John Coburn and Shane Wynn, Shane's here. John is not able to be here today. He's going to come back tomorrow. But Cheryl, we can't. So let's start with Cheryl 12:30 appointment. Slip her in. Because we got all this noise, I can hardly hear you.
Can you hear me now? No, you can. Got it?
No, probably not.
And Nanette, will y'all pull that one over there, pointing directly towards you, just in case there's any correlation between those two? Okay, Cheryl, I'm looking at yours.
Okay, I ordered those checks just the other day, and they have gone up quite a bit since the last time we ordered. So I added a little bit more money in my office expense to cover that. And the travel and seminars, I think I was getting close to going over, but I put some money back in there from the travel. And so I also deleted...
Wait, say that again. You thought you were going over where?
On my travel expense.
But you pulled some money from where?
Well,
You pulled some from dues and bonds. Okay, you said I pulled it from travel.
he doesn't know. I had somebody carpooling with me. When she paid me back, I put it back in there.
Oh.
So that's where that money came from. But then he was going to pull some somewhere else if I was in bad shape. On the dues and bonds, when I first get elected, that one's pretty high, but I won't need that much, so I lowered that to $250.
It's a different price when you first start? What do you have to do, prove your honesty and then they come down? Or
So far.
I really didn't know that. That's it. They start. Huh. Okay. So that's your annual bond premium is only $250.
I think so. See, if you look back on 18, I think 150 was it. So I just did 250 because, like I said, everything seems to be going up.
So it's the first year each time you're elected. So that I was wondering, well, why was it $1,900? Okay, so 1 out of 4 years it's high. So now we bring it back down to $250, which more than covers your increase in travel and your office expense. So it looks like you've got a net decrease here. That sound about right?
Yes. Because we always had that other, and you left it in there. That's.
And that's really about all there is, with the exception of your payroll-related items. No capital outlays needed in your office this coming year.
Computer's fine. I just got a printer the other day, a month or two ago. So I think I'm in good shape.
Okay. All right, any questions for Cheryl? Looks pretty simple. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shane, did John Martin tell you he wasn't going to be here?
No, he did not.
Not that.
Yeah, we didn't get copies of that.
Oh, you got golf shoes on?
This is all for Well, he's with him. He's going to do it.
For for these new guys, kind of refresh our memory as to how you all have agreed to share those funds, that where there's some discretion between the two of you.
Well, according to the statute, it has to be three contractors.
There it is.
So we just basically have a budget of $1,000. Now, there was some belief, I believe, a little bit, case of running some issue where we need computers or what have you, but generally it's just
Okay.
we're basing on
You're okay leaving that as it is? Okay. What budget, are there any other budget items where that the county pays for in your department, any significant items?
I believe maybe the telephone bill.
That's not really significant, not really significant.
You know, according to the statute, you pretty well have to provide us with an office. I think that's about it, the office.
Just since we've got several new guys here and new folks here, kind of tell us about your department and the size of it and what it does, just since we've got an extra few minutes here.
So essentially, we have three departments, the 76 and 276 judicial district, and that includes Morris County, Kansas County, and Titus County. Basically, we monitor compliance with probation and replacement probation in those three counties. 35% of our budget comes from the state. And then the additional comes from supervising the compliance with the district. So we're talking about the state,
And each of those clients pays $60 per month. Is it the same on a felony charge as well?
Correct.
$60 per month. If they have multiple cases, they still just get $60 a month for that individual, even if they've got 4 cases there. Okay, so that provides about how much of your budget?
I would say up to
60?
70, 60, 65, 70% of the budget. Of course, we're having to rely more on that now. The state continues to cut our budget. We've got about 30,000 this year because of the statewide trend. They basically do a statistical review, state for all the cases in the state of Texas, and the trend seems to be a reduction in probation for felony misdemeanors. So when they calculate what they're going to do on us, actually we go down with the nationwide or the statewide trend.
Well, what's actually going down? The number of people that the judges are putting on probation, or is crime actually going down?
The number of people that are being put on probation, crime's not going down.
Does that mean more cases are satisfied with a fine without probation?
In my opinion, I think it's more the cases are just being pushed further and continue. Of course, some misdemeanor cases, they're kind of pushing toward the PERD system, such as the new deal with DWI, PERD, no place along the PERD. It's kind of like a pretrial intervention case, but they would defer it for so many months, and they wouldn't see anything. And that's pretty significant for a person to be not being surprised.
Yeah. When does that take effect? September. Okay. And the size of your staff?
We have, let's see, 4 people in Morris County, 3 in Camp, and 8 in Titus.
You have eight. How many of those are actual probation officers here in Titus County?
5.
5. And the other 3 are support staff.
Right. We have a sex offender officer. He handles felony caseload, also felony offenders, along with sex offender. We have safety
reason why we lump Shane and John Coburn together for the use of these pretrial funds. This pretrial program is one of the ways that we handle cases in county court, whereby they pay a flat $500 fee, and they are put on essentially probation for 6 months to, I guess some of them could be as long as 2 years. We have some 2-year pretrials. And so that $500 fee, in addition to the $60 a month that they pay, it's that $500 fee on these pretrials that gives that defendant an opportunity to eventually get that case off of their record. The pretrial gives them an opportunity where they can literally have that case expunged at some point in the future, and it does not show up as a conviction on their record. So the only way that they're eligible for that is if they have a clean record, and the assumption is that these are first-time offenders that made a mistake, that we don't want to have their record marred for the rest of their lives. And I don't know, how many of these are we doing a year? What would you guess?
We do
60?
And in my opinion, it's a successful program.
Well, that's good. We should, because it costs them a lot of money to hire an attorney to do that, and we appreciate your officers handling that for us. Unless you have any questions, I just wanted him to give you a little bit of background information. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Shane.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And John Coburn is going to join us. We're going to slip him in sometime tomorrow. He had court today, couldn't rearrange that. We'll set him aside tomorrow. Okay, Luann and Callie, y'all are up. All right, where do you want to start? I don't see any changes here. Is there anything? Well, travel and seminars.
Right. What Kelly talked about.
But once again, tell us the differences in your two jobs here, just so for clarification for us.
We're both considered county agents, and then she's AGAN Natural Resources. On management,
$3,600 for additional salary, that some of them got their salary somehow, I guess, we're getting paid for the state and us. I don't understand that, but, and I asked the person, their boss, the guy down at A&M or Austin sometime, and he said, when we require their travel, we pay for it. We require them to go to we pay for it, they shouldn't. And I've noticed that they send their expense report to us, and we pay it. They should be sending it to the state to reimburse.
And I understand that, but also what I'm thinking you're telling us is that this $3,500 is not for your required training. This is for you to go and be with families that are showing animals.
Yes, so for them to technically be UIL, there has to be a parent. There has to be an advisor or supervisor present for those kids to technically be UIL. There's not technically they're not in compliance with UIL.
How many trips are you anticipating making with this $3,500?
So we plan on going to Planet Contest, Texas State Fair, Texas out. Hopefully we qualify for the state contest. So that's what we're going to that money that I get each month for salary, I will try to
How is this auto allowance breakdown between the two of you? $6,500 for each of you. Are we utilizing that?
last week I was about
Record for traveling and also reimbursement and just get it automatically, right?
So you don't turn in any actual mileage, you know, you have to do all of that inside.
So sometimes
They're one of the ones that are still on the auto allowance. So we give them a flat amount each month.
But when you go to required state training, they don't pay for it.
no. Anytime we do go to roll they do, and occasionally they do pay for some of our things. If it is required, a lot of times we will turn in, if she does her onboarding, training as a new agent, she will, the state pays for mileage and meals and hotel. Education, we don't front load it. We do not front load it. So there are on occasions when they do, the state pays for some of our things.
Training versus travel, what do you
Training, travel, registration, so there are some times that they do pay for it. But we do not double dip.
Okay, well, help us understand why this $3,500 should be an expense on the county tax. I'm thinking on that, I just don't know. If that is a new significant increase that we've never had before, tell me why we should do that. That's something we haven't done in the past, do not. This will be an all-new service that we're providing for
Yes. You may have done it in the very beginning, but we had children of our own that were showing at that time. So the ag teachers,
How many kids are
I'm glad to see that our police service coming back for the last few years and getting the young ones. We know that operation and we got a few doing some things, but these shows that she's talking about so much.
Well, I don't think it has a whole lot to do with those, to tell you the truth. Okay, you can talk.
But that is a big deal that they have to have somebody there at those major shows to get them registered and get them, taken care of. We never did go to any of the major shows. Barbara and I were involved for years with our kids and all, and as 4-H leaders, and I know Dana and them have been, and it's I'm glad to see it coming back in Mount Pleasant. It's something that the kids can start younger and work into it as they get into ag and all. Then it prepares them for that, and they're accustomed to what they have to do and need to do. And I think it's a good deal myself. But
In our heyday, how many 4-H kids did we have in a year?
At one time, I think we had well over 100.
Oh, yeah. There used to be over 150.
100 to 150 at one time.
Okay, so we're trying to rebuild a program.
Yes, it's gone down to nothing, and you got kids that want to do it, but can't afford to do it, and, it teaches them a lot about agriculture.
A lot about agriculture, a lot about responsibilities of taking care of their animals and doing things like that. And it's 4-H is a good program. And,
Yes. It's younger.
Yeah.
It's a younger bunch.
you can start in the third grade.
Right.
In the third grade, y'all will correct me, but that's what it used to be. Third grade, they can start showing animals and things like that.
'Cause that's when they got the younger ones have to have an instructor, just like the FFA. They have to have their ag teacher to go with them. Somebody there to answer questions. Yes. But it gives them a chance at early age to start with them. Still wait till the high school to do it.
You okay with $3,500? Somewhere in between there?
Well, if she's going to Fort Worth and State Fair, Houston,
It's going to be $200 a night hotel.
motels, for those 5 events, you're looking, $200 a night, and that's just for motel. So
Four nights.
yeah, and you go 3 or 4 nights at those majors like that. Well,
Do you support the county funding $3,500? I'm trying to talk you out of it or into it. I just want to know. I've never had a kid participate in this.
For these kids, third grade or whatever, one of those shows, they have the opportunity to make from the animals.
Yes.
Like they're out here. So,
More scholarship opportunities.
but they can both make money and get scholarships out of this.
It benefits them a lot.
Scholarships and money too.
It is, I don't want, I'm making money, I don't know if I need the county to.
But the extension, they're not getting any of the money.
This is going to the extension agent, not to the kids.
But it's all
I just don't understand it. They get a nice check on payroll from the state of Texas. We give them $20-something thousand additional payroll, supplemental payroll. And then we give them $6,500 for travel. And I don't know how much a county agent should make, but that's a lot more than most other people in this county make, I can tell you. I know their starting salary, fresh out of college, is like $46,000. So this is where they are, and so you're putting them in another class altogether. I think it's then my fellow commissioners were campaigning against state-funded mandates. This is not even mandated. We just voluntarily do this. But that's my opinion.
Well, this county agent salaries on here, that's the county's portion of the two of y'all's salaries, correct?
Correct.
And then we pay for a secretary?
We pay for that.
Titus County pays the minimum of our salaries, which is $10,000.
And if we were to mandate that you had to start turning in your actual mileage at, what are we, 52 cents?
58. 54 and a half.
54 cents, you would receive more money from the county than you're getting right now at $6,500 each?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going over just a little bit. And
Okay.
our budget, I'm not.
Well, and I'm trying to clarify that there because we have been encouraging many of these departments to go to a flat, you turn in your mileage and you get reimbursed. So in this particular case, you're saying, well, you're getting a bargain here at $6,500 is what you're telling me.
Right.
So you're not, so let's don't include that as part of their pay package, Al. Let's assume she's telling you the truth and that's you're just simply paying for her mileage. You're not paying for for mileage that she's not really utilizing.
Put it in the budget, and if she goes over, she goes over. So we'll know next time. You're allowed $6,500 in your budget. If you go to $7,500, next year we'll know to make the adjustment. But if you go to $3,500, it should be paid that way. That's really the IRS rules. We got this little rule where we kick in and pay Social Security and Medicare, and somebody has to account for that, which is really almost a violation of the IRS rules as far as I'm concerned. I've never seen it done before, but I'm sure it's legal. Carl wouldn't have been doing it.
That is the other thing, by paying it this way, it's reimbursement, we're also paying payroll.
And if we pay that, we pay Medicare and Social Security on this flat rate stuff, that's another 7%, 7.5% that we pay. It costs the county to pay that, the matching part of Social Security and Medicare.
I mean, nobody should be hurt if we just want to switch them over, other than they keep it. We can switch them to reimbursement just like all the other ones.
Yeah, we could. Would y'all be willing to do that? Give me a reason why you wouldn't.
It hurt my retirement, because I do get that counted as retirement.
Good.
For me, that's where it hurt me.
Carl, we don't take retirement.
It doesn't count in our retirement. I mean,
It counts on my end.
counts on me, it doesn't count on our retirement. We don't want to do our retirement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we are not on county retirement.
No, I didn't think so. That's why I was confused when you said that.
So that's the advantage for me.
Okay. All right. I've heard from these two. What about you two? What do you think about this $3,500 new budget item?
I just looking where you might could take it out of something else. But I don't know, what's the computer expenses? Is that part of, you have a service contract on them or something? In case some kind of computer part breaks, a mouse or something? It's kind of an office expense, so that could be used towards it.
And we probably won't need a new computer this next year because that's what we used for her new computer. Kenny had one that was 100 years old.
computers print out so many new ones a year, John, for information. They already, it's automatic through our contract with COBERN.
When we do a cost share, we'll be right.
Okay. Well, here again, I'm a bad person to ask about this travel and seminars money, because I don't relate to 4-H. I'm sure it's a good program and all. Could we start a little bit lower and maybe build this back up, and as we watch this program grow, rather than jumping immediately to 3,500? I'd be willing to do 2,400 for this upcoming year and let her at least go to as many as she could possibly go to, and then show us some numbers next year that we're getting this program built back up, and I'd probably be willing to fund some more next year. That's just me, though. These guys may be willing to do the full amount. I'm just voicing my opinion.
You're not-
Use that 600 there for
You're
sure.
gonna use 6,500 and the 3,500? That'd be 90, that's $10,000.
It's two different things. It's two different things. One is pure mileage, pure driving down the road mileage. The other one is going to pay for meals and lodging when she goes to these ag-related events. I mean, if they're telling me that they utilize and they could justify that $6,500, I'm going to believe them on that. So I'm going to focus now on the travel and seminar 3,500. What are your opinions? Because we need to make a call here. If we don't decide it now, we won't decide.
Well, actually, that 6,500, that's pretty justifiable right there on your travel. So if you did the 54 cents a mile, you would for sure max that out by the end of the year. Maybe take that computer expense and put it down there in that travel. Went to 2,400, would be out by $1,800. It's pretty tight.
Well, it's tight, but it's something we haven't done in the past. It's something new. I'm willing to cultivate this program and get it building back up. But I'm going to hold off on 3,500. So 2,400 and eliminate the computer expense. That nets us to 1,800. What do y'all think? Y'all want to go the full amount? Just tell me.
I'm good with doing that.
Do that, and then we'll see what happens next year, because I do understand it's a lot to travel. We did shooting sports. We did fundraisers all year and worked at the rodeo, whatever, and then we would divide up, and it would pay a little bit on a trip, but it's the kids and everybody else, and I know you'll be out a lot, traveling when you go. So it's good you're participating in all that. That's good.
And honestly, I hope you come back next year and the numbers are doubled and you're asking for more money. I mean, I know nothing but good about the 4-H program. I want us to see it get built back up, and that's why we've got you here. We're just a little tight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's Carl. If you'll make those adjustments, then. Any other questions for these ladies? We thank you for preparing this for us. I'm looking at your page 2. I don't see any changes there. So it looks like a net increase.
On that supplies for extension meeting room, what's that? Just if you had to put on a special event or something? You didn't do nothing this year.
Well, we were getting our sound system in there. That has not been turned in yet.
Has that been done yet?
They're working on it now.
It's been a while.
So we have that actually going to happen.
Actually in the works.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Bet.
Yeah, but you can't see what all there is. She may be.
What is it that you've got there?
The book,
The whole,
booklets.
The copies where they've turned in requests in.
She put it together by the departments. So they
okay,
can
if
see,
she removes your staples, can you do without your staples?
well, because she kind of, that's how she put it, you know, we all together. See, like all of this was COBERN and them together. Here, you need all of them.
Hey, Mr. Roney, how you doing, sir?
No, that's the issue.
Family doing all right?
Oh, you grabbing some?
Family doing all right? Looking young and trim.
Is the sheriff tomorrow? No. I'm thinking all of these are tomorrow. Paperclip that you.
Y'all been busy? Been busy?
This is all the day. That's what we've already done. That way, Barbara.
One more copy?
One more copy, please.
What'd you do golf shoot? Hey, Carl. How many more months? How many more months? Retirement. I mean, 8 years? I know you're still young, but you're keeping
Okay, Carl, here, you can have yours, back. She's got her copy she'll use.
keeping Crooks straight. Keeping Mr. Crooks straight.
Okay, Sergeant, you ready? Come on up to the table.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
Morning.
Thank you for your service.
Okay, we'll let you speak on behalf of Crooks in a moment, but as far as yours, no changes, you said, anything we need to know?
No, home now, everything's good, and we appreciate the support of our people.
I'm trying to think of any comments Crooks made to me the other day that related to budget. No. Right now, we're waiting on TxDOT. We've got a bit of a land constraint out there that TxDOT's looking at to try to see how we can accomplish what we want to accomplish within that thin sliver that they've got in that right-of-way, which is much less land to work with than these other facilities that they have been expanding. You really don't have room for the number of lanes, and so I don't honestly know how they're going to do it. We're not even to the point of talking about dollars yet. They've got to decide if they can accomplish what they want to accomplish at that location, or if we need to move it further down towards Dallas or what, or come up with some kind of a creative way to redesign that footprint where it would fit on that narrow piece of land. So no, unfortunately, we're not anywhere closer to that. Y'all did y'all put a new building up out there, what, a year ago or so?
You talking about the trailer?
Yeah.
It's been out there for a while, but they redeveloped and repositioned it.
Okay. As far as those buildings out there, he hasn't requested any changes. Those buildings are holding up okay? And so we're paying to have it mowed out there. We're paying for some trash pickup. Is that working well out there, and we're not having the trash accumulation we did years ago?
It's working fine. It's really tough away some of the people coming and just dumping trash on the side of the road right there on the other. So it really has stuff us out quite a bit.
Okay. And y'all, have they seen that $5,500 bill yet, Nanette, for the scale repair? Okay, y'all saw we've had to spend $5,500 to repair the scales out there from what they think was a lightning strike They're not sure what it was, but that was a pretty major repair out there. Unfortunately, it would, even at that size, it wouldn't have been enough to, for any insurance coverage. That scale out there is considered to be part of the building, a building enhancement or a building improvement or a building addition rather than a piece of equipment. So we do have that now added on our insurance, that building out there in case of a total loss. If a tornado blew those buildings down, we would have some coverage, but it was not covered by any policy with the state because the state owns the right-of-way out there, but the county built the building, so we're going to now include them on our insurance policy. All right, any other discussion here for Sergeant Roney or anything related to the way stations? All right, Sergeant Roney, that was simple. We thank you for coming down, and we'll continue to hope that we can get a new modernized way stations out there. All right. What's your status? I'm just curious, for years there, we were having so many of your guys making those trips back and forth to the border. What's going on with that now?
We have a lot more people, a lot more troopers, and they got stationed down on board. So it's been about probably 2 years ago, so now they are up and trained, working well on the arm. So they got a lot more troopers on board stationed there.
So you don't have to send, do you have to send any of your guys down there now? Okay.
That's good.
Hope it stays that way. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Ronnie, you be
Sergeant
careful.
Roney.
Be safe, Ronnie.
Thank you.
Stay safe out there. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I can't remember what was Ray out of town? Did Ray tell me he wasn't going to be here? I can't remember.
He texted me this morning and said he didn't have any changes, so he wasn't going to be here.
If he won't mind if we make a few cuts, then.
There we go.
All right, well, let's start with Chris then.
All mine is doing well, everything's kind of running pretty smooth right now. I haven't had any issues with the cars, kind of hoping for.
How many cars do you support in your? How many cars do you support, or do we support for you? Just the two? How old are they?
One's a 10 and the other's 11.
Okay.
One has about 160,000 on it. Probably had to put a set of tires on it, which I had the money in this year's budget. This year, just kind of linking along. The other, I think I had a little minor issue with maybe a radiator or something. I can't remember.
Your travel and seminars is minuscule this year. Have you got something coming up in the last quarter here that you're going to?
Well, we put that in, I think, this year to kind of cover our reserve. We've got some free training, and I told y'all that when we put it in last year, that we tried to do as much no-cost training.
Online computer stuff?
Well, we have some, I guess, that council government comes in, they put on classes to take. We had that court security class, got that administrative class at no cost. A lot are, some aren't, but we've just been fortunate this year that everything we've got is pretty much free training. There are some available online.
Do we still need 750 in that?
No, I mean,
Here before, we have 667.
yeah, it just kind of, we just started the training cycle. They are required to take certain classes. I just had to look and I think we can, if we have to, cut it, we can, or keep it in there.
Okay. Yeah, it wouldn't make that much difference.
Whatever's left over, roll it back.
In tires, where is that going to be paid for out of?
Probably out of that other, that's where we do all the maintenance on the vehicles, is where we get ammunition for our firearms training, any equipment that they might need, or my office needs. I don't know if it was last year or year before, we got get pretty good with some vehicle expenses. So we've been fortunate, and it's, when you're dealing with old equipment like that, we understand we take care of it, we try to do the best we can, but things just break down.
Okay. All right, I don't have any other questions for Chris. Do y'all?
Ray did tell me that he wouldn't mind y'all give money over.
He had too much?
On your auto allowance, is that just your personal car for just you driving, or is that your department's auto allowance? It's just for you. Well, I just wonder if you couldn't try doing the 54 cents a mile like the rest of us do on that. That seems kind of high to me. So how many miles you usually run a year?
12 to 13, maybe 14,000.
We really need to try to get that thing back turned on.
Plus, we have to match Social Security and Medicare.
I think that's kind of high right there to me. I don't know why you can't do like we do and do the mileage.
We talked about this a couple of years ago, and I admitted then that maybe 2,000 or so left over from, by the time you figure, $600 vehicle payment.
Oh yeah, that's like us. It's our vehicle wear and tears out the window. We just getting your gas money.
There may be a little bit left. I mean, it's not the big money making operation. The constables, our salaries are, I think,
including 58 cents. Yeah. Well, I'd like to see both you and Ray go to the 50. It's 54 or 58. What is it?
54 and a
It's
half.
58, isn't it now?
Huh? Oh, it's gone to
It was
58?
54.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to see both you and Ray go that like we do and keep up a log of it and do 58 cents a mile.
I wouldn't mind doing that with all due respect if my salary was increased. If you look at the pay scale of all elected officials, I think you'll find a constable at the bottom. What we do is, we're law enforcement.
Yeah, I see you take it. That's part of your salary. If that's part of your salary and you ran for office knowing this is what I'm going to make, it's why I'm going to do it, it is like taking away your salary. So with that being said,
The other thing to remember, Chris, is that while you're getting 15.6, you're also paying income tax.
Correct.
If it was a reimbursement policy, you wouldn't have to pay any income tax. So there's some, you get some back that way, tax rate. So you do get some of it back by not having to pay income tax. But
maybe that's something we need to address in the next if one of the constables that's currently in office retires or something, and we're going to have a new constable coming in, then we could request it in that budget year that they're going to get 58 cents a mile, and they're going to get this for their salary, and then start that way instead of take it away from somebody that's ran for office and that was their salary. Yeah. So,
Well, that's true. I mean, when this was done, it was essentially became a part of the pay package.
yeah.
You know, I don't know how it affected all the commissioners when we made that change. It affected me about,
Yeah, they were making 15.6 at one
it
time.
affected me about
So,
$5,000.
Yep, it does affect. So, I'd say that would be your decision since you're the elected official. Leave that alone.
Anything else?
That's it.
If not, well, I think, Chris, what you're hearing is there's going to be some pressure in the future to drive that auto allowance down to a per mile basis. I don't know when they'll take action on that. They're not going to do anything about it this year, but you know, when elections come around, I would say we'll time that discussion. I didn't hear what you said your actual mileage was. What'd you say?
Ranges 12 to 14,000.
Okay, so it'd be.
That's probably, that's actual working miles. Anytime I get in my vehicle, of course, it's got a radio on and I'm listening.
So, so you're still in this right here, this figure here is showing a 5% increase in salary of your employees?
You don't have any employees.
You added it into the girls that work in there?
No, that's not his.
That's, I think all the commissioners are aware that every year I come in and ask for that, so.
Oh. Okay.
That's something I typically do, so.
I don't think that's going to go this year.
I mean, I'm not going to throw a fit on it.
That auto allowance, just to kind of quantify that, would mean a reduction of about $8,000 in this package. Okay, Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
There's no other questions. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Okay, I do think that is, you know, something to be discussed at some point. We know that's part of the pay package, but unlike the situation we had there with Luann, who says it would be a wash for her, she might even make more money if she went to claiming actual mileage. In this case, you're clearly overpaying for auto allowance, and that's become essentially a part of the salary package.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have to decide, are you going to look somebody like that in the eye and say, we're dropping your pay by $8,000, or are you going to wait and do that the next round of elections? Be a tough conversation. Okay, moving over to Ray Barrett's. He's left everything the same except for his pay, which he's imputed a 5% increase as well. Other than that, I don't see any changes to his budget at all. He's got 2 pages there. You'll notice on his second page, he's got the juvenile officer OPCs, which is the orders of protective custody. As a juvenile officer, I don't know, I've never noticed juvenile. He's the mental health officer. So I don't know about OPC juvenile officer. Did we change that terminology there?
Always just been OPC. It may have said juvenile. It's OPC.
So that really, you know, as the mental health officer, Ray is often involved, or he's responsible for making these transports of mental health patients that are going to Terrell. He does not necessarily make all of them. Sometimes they're made by the hospital's vehicle, but he or his staff of the volunteers will make those trips to Terrell and occasionally to some of the other hospitals in like Greenville, for instance. And
He has to be certified. You have to be certified to do that.
Yeah, yeah. So that is a responsibility that he has that that Chris does not have.
That goes back to the thing he was here, he was the OPC officer. They have to be special trained.
So it's 5% they're asking for on their salary. It'd have to be across the board for every elected official.
Wouldn't have to be.
Oh, so they're asking for 5% more in their salaries.
Well, they do that
If they
every
turn
year.
this in,
That's kind
or
of
we
their-
gotta say yay or nay or what?
You just have to, well, I guess.
Or is he gonna get it?
No, he's asking for it. He asks for it every year.
Yeah.
We will have an overall salary discussion that will affect.
Later
all.
on.
I mean, unless you want to give,
Okay.
unless you want to give the constables.
Normally, we just tell him, hey, we'll talk about salaries, we'll look at tax rate.
Yeah, that messed that up for sure.
I do want to bring this to your attention, where it relates to the transport costs. You'll look there on the second page, the transporting, he's got $2,900. I don't know why his current budget is showing 0. Do you know why, Carl, his year-to-date actual? Does he wait and turn that in at the end of the year?
Normally, they do not, but you can see that.
It's not been that high before.
Haven't been using it a whole lot, so maybe the sheriff's people are taking it, or maybe the hospital people, I don't know. Because the brain was going, he turned the years ago. Constable car. Chris was,
It's
I think
unmarked.
That's the answer. Yeah, that's the answer. They're using those constable cars with the cages in them. He's not using his own vehicle. So if they use their own vehicle, they get the 52 cents a mile. If he chooses to use the constable vehicle, which has a cage in it, then they don't get paid for those miles use of their personal car. So that's why we're not seeing that money there.
they would have gas and oil.
So I would say we should cut that down.
You get the car allowance, plus you're getting gas and oil
Well, they get gas and oil.
for the,
Well, the car allowance is for his personal
One
vehicle.
of those old cars, there's cages.
We could cut that whole fee out then, because he's got his own car allowance with his own truck, or he could use the unmarked car that's got the cage in it.
And that's what they're doing. That transporting cost there would be if he was using his personal truck to make those runs.
Okay, I'll change that to 0. Like I said, we haven't used it any time.
cut that.
Well, I'm trying to see where he's got automobile expenses.
I guess it's
Other
under gas
expense.
and oil.
You got $2,000 for other expenses.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, that's like, in every one of the departments, I put some miscellaneous in there. They don't use it unless it's necessary, but.
Well, Chris said that they took that their expensive cart, or their maintenance expense and all on that vehicle out of that 2,000, what he said there a while ago.
Well, one thing that I would like for them to do is to start keeping track of how many trips they make for mental health patients, so that we can kind of quantify, what that's costing us. In other words, how many trips are they making? I don't really know. So I'm going to ask him to start keeping a log of transports.
It's the sheriff to do that.
No, he really does. He uses, Ray makes quite a few trips, and Lisa makes quite a few trips. It's a rare deal for the sheriff to make a trip. I do know that for a fact. But I would like to know how many transports we're making so that we can see if that transporting, I'd like to know how many transports we are making with those vehicles, how many miles we're putting on there, on those.
You need to ask Ray, give you a report. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know. Okay, so you're going to zero out that transport cost? I'm going to check with him.
All right, let me take
I
a
know
swing.
that Charger they use
You
a
want me to
ton
take that
mark,
swing
it's
out?
getting a lot of miles on it. We're gonna have to, if Tim changes some vehicle out, we're probably gonna have to get one of them Durangos or something, replace it.
Well, Tim should
Get a little
say
newer.
3 or 4 out. He usually
Yeah.
does that every year.
Have to take all the unmarked, have to take all that off, but that car's gonna have to be upgraded sometime.
Y'all want me to take the 2,900 out? Make it 0?
I can't get a hold of him, Okay, yeah, zero it out for now. If he calls me back, I'll
Okay.
find out something different. Okay, Pam, sorry about that. We're running behind here a little bit. Well, not too bad, a little bit. All right.
Hot seat.
No, I came early to see how it was all done.
When's the next election?
Oh, well, it could be coming right on up.
Tell us about that.
I got news this morning that we could be having another special election for the city to fill a vacancy left by one of the council members. So.
Okay. Well, I thought he was up for his vote in May. I thought that under those circumstances that they
Could appoint somebody.
would appoint somebody.
That's what I thought too.
Well, I haven't received an order of an election yet. That's just that I received word from the city on they were going to be getting their invoices paid for the first 2 elections, and she did mention that there might be another special election called.
Is that Darlene
Yes.
you talked to?
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, would you find out when his term ends, and is that the way that those positions are filled rather than nomination of somebody? Because how does ours work? If it's in the first half, we have an election. If it's in the second half of your term, don't you have just nominate somebody?
I don't remember what the cutoff is. I know we have appointed a county clerk to fill the term until the election is held. But I don't know if you're required to hold a special election within so many months. I don't remember. We did fill the county clerk position one time, probably 20 years ago.
With just a nomination from the Commissioners Court?
But I don't think it was for her full term. I think it was until you could hold a special election. I don't remember.
Well, I believe that's the way it works for county. If it's in the first half of their 4-year term, it's an election. If it's in the second half, it's a nomination. But anyway, so you may have one, and that could be fairly quick.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just what you wanted.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
it
you
does
could
take
probably do the
me.
research as well as calling Darlene.
Well, I'm probably even supposed to know some of that stuff, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, well, I think we would all like to know if that's going to be responsible for carrying another one of those.
Of course, we do pass the cost off on to the entity that's holding the election, but
You know, still, it's a just unexpected disruption.
yes.
Okay, you want to run down your budget here?
And it is something that we don't normally budget for if you're holding special elections.
Okay. All right, let's take it from the top here, and 38's your current rate of pay, is that right?
That is right.
Okay, so we have there, looking on her line 1 there, just make note this is not an increased request. We had a split year here when we brought Pam in the middle of that term due to the replacement of the previous elections administrator. And along with that comes some adjustments there in your, let's see, tell us what's going on there on salaries clerical. Are you just proposing minuscule increases?
I am proposing a 2% increase for my current staff, which is one full-time person.
Okay. And understand kind of how we do it is we'll discuss overall county raises and decide. Typically how we've done it in the past is we've either done it for everybody or we've done it only for non-elected positions or or hourly positions. So I don't know. I'm hearing rumblings that there won't be raises, but we have yet to discuss that. So
Okay.
that's kind of how that works rather than looking at it on a request by request basis. Your part-time position, who is your part-time person right now?
I don't have one. I eliminated that position just after this last election.
Okay.
And while it is currently eliminated, I did want a budget for it in case we needed some temporary help or some part-time help coming up in the fall. Our big election that's coming up in 2020 won't hit this next budgetary year, but I'm just so new to the department, I'm not sure exactly how much help I need, but when I'm seeing my office staff having a lot of downtime, I just can't justify having another person when I don't need it.
Well, and I have a lot of confidence in your ability to recognize that and budget accordingly. I kind of lacked that confidence before. I would be told one thing about the needs of a part-time employee, and then they ended up being there year-round. So right now, it's just you and one full-time staff person. As we speak right now, you don't have a part-time person over there.
That's right.
Generating hours at all. And so you would anticipate possibly needing them, and you would anticipate bringing them in on an as-needed basis, like when you're
Yes.
gearing up for an election or something
I
like
would
that.
prefer to call it temporary help rather than a part-time salary.
Okay. Do we use that term part-time salary everywhere?
Whether it's temporary or permanent part-time.
Okay.
We do have some permanent part-time.
Well, hers will certainly not be a permanent part-time. I don't think that it ever has been.
The other way that we usually do that is, even if the money's in the budget, anytime anybody hires somebody, it gets approved by the court. I mean, y'all sign those pay sheets down there every time the sheriff hires somebody. It shows the rate, what hours you're planning on working, whatever. So just because the money's in the budget doesn't mean they're authorized to spend it until they okay it. That's generally the way we operate.
Looking forward to, what's going to fall into this budget cycle in the way of elections?
We'll have the November election for the constitutional amendments, and then next May, actually we'll be doing the primaries in the spring for both parties.
Yeah, that's right. So that's a proposed increase of $5,000 in election workers over the current year budget, and that'll be more than we spent for the last 3 years. Kind of what's going on there?
Well, we're have the addition of the primaries, which are two separate elections. And like I say, I'm so new, and we're going over this time because this amount here does not include the salaries for the election workers for this last city election for the runoff.
You can see down towards the bottom, the election expenses on over too. So
Well, I understand that election expense was because of those unexpected invoices that we got. And if those had been paid.
Yeah, those were substantial.
Years ago,
That was
generated by your.
Right.
How much was that, Pam?
It was
15,000?
15 or 16,000.
Yeah.
And that was 3 years worth. It was 16, 17, and 18.
Yeah, so really, you don't look at that 2019 actual.
The other thing is when she budgets up to 37,000 because of those elections, we're gonna also pick up additional revenues. I mean, we budget the expenses, but we also we'll have reimbursement.
Right. And we get reimbursed from the city as well, the city or the school.
Do you guesstimate that additional revenue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this year,
We invoice the entities for exactly what we paid our election workers.
Okay. So that might be that might have a little padding in it, but it's a safe number. Okay. Why would we have not had any payroll tax for election workers budgeted?
Well, until they make more than $1,500. Until they make more than $1,500, you don't have to pay payroll taxes on it. Then when they go over the $1,500, you got to go back and pay the payroll taxes on the total amount.
Which,
It's a strange way you have to calculate it. Since we've already written them the checks, basically the county has to eat that. I can't go back and get it from them.
Well, but we know we're going to have that expense there each year. Why would we put zero in our budget?
One individual's going to go $1,500.
Well, but just looking at it historically, we know it's going to be somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I could have budgeted.
You could have estimated it.
So let's get,
Probably just cover my election expense down the bottom. But I could.
let's use that 1,600. There's our
Okay.
hospitalization for 2
No,
people.
hospitalization, you got to sit down and talk. I'm going to bump those numbers up, but that's across the board, isn't it?
You going to bump them up?
I think so. You don't think we need to go up again?
Well, I was wondering if we could bump them down. I'm not,
You
seriously.
think insurance gone down? You think our actual cost of our...
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, we sat there.
I would be shocked if it went down.
Okay.
I would be shocked if it's costed less than it did the year before. Well, we went from 900 to 1,000.
Yeah.
That's what that number is.
Well, no, I want.
Our own number that we generate to transfer the money to the election. Each year.
Well, I want to have an adequate amount there where we don't have to dip into general fund to replenish if possible, and hopefully 1,000 will do it. You know, we heard these reductions in the expenses there from our reports. I don't know if that's actually filtering down all the way after we pay all of our premiums. Okay, Pam, on your software maintenance there, what is that? That's a fixed cost?
Yes, our Hart InterCivic that provides the software for our voting machines.
Right.
And then also that I foresee that next $5,000 bill for the subscription for that we had those back invoices
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
That was for Tally LLC, but they don't support that software anymore. I have no idea what it's going to come in at, but I'm sure they're going to bill us for that. So I just thought $5,000, since that's been the historical amount, would be a good amount.
Okay.
So as you can see, if we do the $5,000 and it comes in before the end of our budgetary year, it is going to put us a little over the $15,000 mark.
Right, okay. Did that line have any unpaid bills in there that you had to play catch up on? Or was that all in the other line?
Well, I was thinking that the unpaid bills got applied to the election expense line, and I was thinking it should have been in the software maintenance since it was that software subscription bill.
see what she's saying, Carl.
Yeah, you talking about the current year?
Yes.
Where you just vote it over? Yeah, I'll think about it, because I got to clean it up for the next expense.
She was, we had discussed it, like where that was being paid from. We agreed it was paid historically, but she was wondering why is it being out of election expenses and not software maintenance, since those additional costs are, it's for a software, not. And I told her, because it's called the ballot, and ballots are normally paid out of
Yes, I don't think it was called the ballot. It had to do with our poll books.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Poll books. Because it said book on it, I just thought maybe that's why we budgeted there. We were kind of guessing.
Right. It's a software subscription for electronic poll books.
That's it, thank you.
What's typically included in election expense?
All of the materials that you have to send out to the polling places.
Okay.
We have done a lot of organization over in our office in the past few months, and we did, Lakeitra has been very proactive about putting together an actual poll book with all the directions, anything the poll workers would ever need, that they have any question, it's all right there. And we really had very few calls from the poll places this time, this couple elections go arounds, and so we feel like it's been very much worth it. But so a lot of that, well, why would it be $30,000? A lot of it's supplies and.
Oh, I'm not challenging it. I just kind of wondered what went in there.
I know, I should have a good answer for that.
I think
Because
anything that didn't fit one of those other categories, that's what it was.
oh, yes, yes, the ballots and the programming for the machines.
Okay.
And yes, so that's true.
I was surprised.
You're thinking that, yeah.
Well, is there any need to reclassify that 43,000 and put it back into software maintenance? We're going to gain anything there historically?
I don't think so. If I can, go back and spread it over 3 or 4 years, it almost makes sense. But
Just leave it be.
do you think the 30,000 legislature will be enough if your primaries and everything coming up?
I do.
I know you're going to be reimbursed, but again, this is short,
Right.
you just think you're going to need more election money. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bump up the expected revenue by $5,000, because all that extra expense is what's going to be proposed.
Okay.
Except for the general, I don't know what we have to pay for it. What in November.
Okay, well,
And maybe 30,000, maybe I need to bump that another couple of thousand. I would feel better about that, yes.
33?
I'm gonna take that $8,000 and add it to revenue on the other side. I see it on this sheet, it's on the revenue sheet.
Okay.
Just write it somewhere. Well, if I don't have anything for.
No, when you look at 2017, it's a good, well.
Okay, well, so to recap, we go from a budget of 202 up to now to 217. That's primarily coming from the election administrator salary adjustment that was an agreed upon amount when we hired Pam. Then you've got a $5,000 increase in salaries to election workers based upon anticipated election needs, but that'll be offset by additional revenues. Then you've got an extra $1,000 in office expense, and then $3,000 more in election expense, which again ought to be theoretically offset by increased revenues from the entities that she's making election services for.
I have a question. It may not be appropriate to ask, but at this time, but I read recently where that the state reimburses us for elections, but only election day. All of the early voting we're out that expense.
We do get funds from Chapter 19, and I need to learn how to actually take advantage of that, and that's coming up in the next month that I need to do that. But it's very specific on how you can tap those funds. Like, our office needs a new projector for our high school program that we do, and it's going to be a $600 cost. Well, I did not put that in here because I am anticipating that some of that Chapter 19 funds could go towards that. But I'm sorry that I don't have a lot of knowledge in that area, but I'll get it. But as far as the elections that the state reimburses us, that I haven't run across that yet, Commissioner.
Well, what I was looking at said that they reimburse for election day expense. All the early voting is on us. If we want to have it 3 weeks or 2 weeks or 1 week, maybe, I think it's too long personally, but that's just my opinion, the early voting period. I don't know whether to save money by having it less or not. That's just a question.
Those days are mandated by the state that we have to be open for 2 12-hour days, and depending on the election, whether it's the week long.
Right, on the early voting?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Your comment about training and seminar, we all know what that's for. It's the same in all of our budgets. Travel and seminar is what pays for us to go to our training. So
okay.
We just keep that terminology consistent, but we know that that's what it is. We know you're not just out traveling around talking to voters. Any other questions for Pam? This looks very good.
I like what you're doing with your part-time.
Okay.
You're running your office really nice. I like how you cleaned it up over there and decorated. I don't see a Hobby Lobby line item in here for Hobby Lobby because you're a good decorator. It's real nice over there.
I haven't done that much.
I didn't know maybe Dave was going to them garage sales and stuff, getting all the pretty stuff you decorated with.
Go visit them.
It's nice.
That is one thing I'd like to comment on is as far as the part-time help, we need help a lot around election time, just toting our stuff across the street back and forth. And since I kind of know the maintenance man on a personal basis, he
does a lot on his own without calling us.
He has community service workers in quite often, and so I'm able to utilize that a lot. If I could, if I just have what I need done, then the community service workers can sure help on that. So
And we can help you too. Our guys, David gets us all lined up and we go help. He worked us down one day over there. He's a good organizer.
Yeah.
So we're glad to do it.
And there is one other comment that I'd like to make on those old voting machines that we depreciated out. I contacted ES&S on that. I have not heard back from them. It was something that should have been taken care of when we got the new machinery, and but I don't have any idea what to do about that. I have contacted my fellow elections administrators across the state, and they are the ones that suggested contacted ES&S to see if they would even come pick it up.
What is ES&S?
That's the company that made those machines that we bought them from.
And they are technologically obsolete now? What is?
I don't even know the answer to that. I don't know if they could be reused. Evidently, there's still some counties around the state that use those. So I know the state is going to be coming up with, we kind of jumped the gun on that, but the state is going to be coming up with funds for all the counties to update their equipment pretty soon.
Well, I guess we were probably counting on our equipment lasting a while longer. Do you think it will?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Well, getting rid of that equipment would free you up some storage space, is that?
Yes, a lot.
Well, worst case, we throw the stuff away. That seems kind of sad, but yeah, keep pushing on them to find out if they have any. Of course, they want to keep selling equipment, I guess. But if they have
And,
any,
you know, we went with a different maker when we updated our equipment, so.
and nobody you've talked to had any interest in buying any used
No.
machines? And how many of those do we have?
23.
23.
23 sets, so there's 2 machines in a set.
I wish we could find some county that uses those machines that would just want them to come haul them off.
You're right, I wish we could.
Because then they would have some extra parts, extra frames. Do you ever hear anybody around that has that machine that you know of yet?
No, Mr. Leonard had done a report on that, and I think even the Dallas area still uses those machines.
Y'all have like a list serve like we do?
Yes.
And
And I have, that's what nobody's expressed an interest.
Nobody wants them.
Well, man, if you've hit the list serve, I mean, that's about as much target, that's as direct as you can get.
Yeah, listservs, if you didn't get a response back on that, I wouldn't think you would
That's
get
where I
one.
got the contact ES&S to see, you know, if they would want to either buy them back or just pick them up. So, at this
Okay,
point.
why don't you pursue that, and then if not, we just need a vote to allow you to dispose of those machines to free up some badly needed storage space.
Okay, chapter 19, money?
How about adding the county progress?
Yes.
See where we've had
No.
money for several years.
Yes, I do. I have to
Do
talk.
they have classified ads?
No, I've never seen that.
I think I have about $1,000 available.
This may be the hospital calling me about a mental patient. This is fine.
So I guess we have to apply.
We'll see what we need. No, because it does expire. So,
Let's put it somewhere that we can see.
yeah.
Please, man.
You know that email listserv? Maybe we should put on there.
That's why I don't know if that's what these done. That's what these done. I would think we have
She did that because she
I didn't know.
You would use the same one over and over. As long as we can see what they have. Hey, she could have all that. Well, it is. It's only going to be here for $7.
Oh, yeah, yes.
So like you could just offset.
Because the state reimburses you for every, like, voter you register, and that comes in your chapter 19 money.
If we were able to sell it to a city or a school, I know we can do that at our school, our county got this, you know, what we call it.
And they sold them to another entity?
Well, they offer them to us, we can take them on board and what you do, whoever servicing those, no longer servicing, like they're.
Did she say that, or did she just want to see what to do with it?
Yeah, I don't even know. You know, I didn't know they were still in use in some counties.
Get damaged moving them and stuff, you know, they're backed up.
I would think that, oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Well, before we would throw them away, I'd put on the listserv that, you know, the county has voted for us to donate these and let them come and pick them up. I just would hate to just throw stuff literally in
I
the
know.
dump.
You know somebody could use those
But, you know,
those
the-
frames and everything, they get beat up moving them so much, they're so big.
And well, and this is something else, there's a couple of large printers that went with those, because we printed our own ballots with those machines. And I can't help but think those printers could not be used in some other office in this county.
Are those laser printers,
I think so.
big specialized printers?
I don't know how specialized they are. They
Why
look
don't
to
you
me
do
like
that?
they're just a big printer like you see in an office.
Those are big printers. Why don't you contact Seth Bryan with K-Bro
Okay.
and ask him if you have any ideas? But
Maybe we could get something out of at least the two big printers.
well, for
some
years and
use out
years,
of it.
we kept storing and storing and storing stuff that needed to be thrown away years ago. We may be at that point. But try your listserv, try to give those things away, talk to Seth about the printers, see if there's any usability in any other department. Those things are gonna be pretty old. They're getting to where they're gonna probably be
Well,
obsolete.
and if the state comes through with funding for new machinery for county, statewide, for every county statewide, then, yeah, nobody's gonna want that.
Well, let's strike while the iron's hot. But let's make a decision on that here in the next couple of months. Give them away, sell them, or throw them away.
Okay. All right, I'll see what I can do.
Okay. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Okay, Irma.
Okay, Judge, just see if it's possible for Mr. AGAN go before
Sure.
me.
Sure.
Get going.
Sure. Hang on one second. Let me see if I want, do y'all still want to take a break before we bring back Judy Cook at 12:45? Or do you want to try to get Judy over here earlier? Let me see if I can do that, and you could have a quick lunch break between that and 1 o'clock. Okay, Steve, go ahead.
Okay. Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I apologize for going early in front of my dad's on the way to the hospital, so I'm going to try to get through this. So, of course, this is my first budget meeting with the county, and I guess the process is y'all should have something in front of you, maybe now, from what I turned in, have you? Okay. I kind of revised a little bit of it, wording anyway, but if you'd like a copy, revised copy, I can be happy to give you one.
You talked about this page here?
Well, no, it's I just revised some wording in it, that was it.
Yeah, that's on your third page. If you want to refer to that and go over that, you want to start with that first?
Yeah.
Is that different?
It's just wording, the monies are the same, it's just some of the wording down there has been revised.
Okay. Okay.
I'll, thank you. Just go read it, and if there's any discussion.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just asking for this year, no increases in the budget, but I'm asking for us to allow us to take our part-time budget and redistribute some of the monies out of the part-time budget. We found that we're not in really need for a part-time individual per se, barring any catastrophes.
Not at all during the whole year?
I don't see any unless one of the ladies gets sick and is out for a while or something like that. I'd like to take $5,535 out of the $8,000 budget for our part-time and reallocate it to our clerk salary. That would be reallocating only $4,742 to the salary budget and $1,094 to the retirement budget line. I believe, if I understand right, the Social Security and everything would be basically staying the same. But retirement possibly going to go up, so.
Trying to go up because the part-time persons who are paying retirement.
Right.
So if you move those salaries from part-time.
So does that 5535 need to be 5,800?
It may be, yes, 58. I'm sorry. When I revised it, I didn't revise that.
Because the first one I got, that you had made that change to 58.
Okay, I apologize. I did not change it on my paperwork there, but the 5835 instead of the.
And that would be split between deputy salaries and retirement for deputies.
Yes. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get all that money, but it's there in case we want to give raises, you know, later on for time served that they put in, which would end up leaving $2,165 in our part-time budget for our contingency fund. As far as the possibility of help in the future, right now, it's the understanding that our legislation's passed that the justice of peace jurisdiction is going to go up from $10,000 to $20,000 jurisdiction in civil cases. And with that, along with that legislation, they provided that if we have to hire someone extra to handle whatever workload would come out there, we don't know for sure what that's going to be, but if it does, I understand that they will fund, the legislation's got it where another employee, a third employee in my case, and Judge Dunn's as well, would be funded out of the technology fund, not out of the regular budget.
Well, first of all, is this just civil cases?
It's for that's debt claims, small claims, debt claims, with your credit card claims, and evictions. So if somebody's in a, you know, behind in arrears in a commercial business, generally that's where you'll probably get more evictions that are above the $10,000 range. That we would be seeing more of that. But
right now those are in county court, right?
Yes. I'm assuming that they're all in county court. Some of them may go to district court. They get some of them every once in a while, but I don't know.
Well, if these are the ones, if they're just going to be removed from county court, you're not talking about that much.
Yeah. Well, and that I'm not saying that we will need them. I'm just letting everybody know that if it was needed in the future, because of the increase in our workload, whatever office, the technology fund would fund that through legislation. Now, of course, then
an already existing technology fund.
If I understand, and we haven't been through any line item steps on that yet, but I think we're even going to start increasing some of the fines and the court costs to cover that.
Yeah, because otherwise we would just be cannibalizing our existing technology.
Correct.
That doesn't produce you any new money.
And most likely what it's going to do is going to be the larger counties that have more of these than us. That's just an information that I'm putting out there.
I would really think the impact on you is going to be
and that's it very well not be. So with that in mind, I'm requesting that they allow future pay increases to the JPs and JP 1, 3, and 4, the clerks line, and this will give us the incentive to keep experienced employees and also make us more competitive in the replacement process if it occurs. And leaving the part-time $2,165 in contingency on the part-time in case one of them happens to be in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and it wouldn't be for maybe 4 hours, a couple times a week, just to catch up on stuff. But as it is, I'm able to perform some of the duties as well if need be for the clerks.
Okay, well, Commissioner Steve did come and talk to Carl and I about this, and we told him, you know, this is not something that's typically done, but what he is asking that you consider allowing him to do is to reduce that part-time budget about $5,800 and allow him to disperse or have the ability to disperse that to his 2 deputies. In effect, you're given specific raises in a specific department by reallocating line items. So if we begin that, unless you have a good reason for doing that, you understand that this could be something that other department heads will start wanting to do, is finding unused budget monies and using it to increase pay. So I think these guys need to hear why that needs to be done. They need to understand where the level of pay your guys are at and why you're interested in doing this, as opposed to just going through the normal county, you know, raise process.
I believe that the previous budget for that should be going towards the salaries of the clerks. And I mean, if we're not going to use it per se, you know, unless it's the $2,100, and I'd like to give them the opportunity to advance in the market of, you know, the pay, that without increasing our budget any.
I understand, but justify for us why that pay is warranted. I mean, I might go and take my capital expenses in my budget and say, I want that for my personal pay, as opposed to giving it back to the taxpayers. In other words, help us understand why you feel the need for us to treat those 2 employees in your office different from other employees.
I think all employees in all departments should be treated the same. One reason is that my chief clerk is only 50 cents, 60 cents higher an hour in pay, and she's been there nearly 2 years now.
Higher than what?
Higher than my other clerk.
Okay. Why don't you kind of give us some figures here so that these guys can...
I'm sorry.
They're on the second page.
Second page. You've got the hourly rates.
That and that, the hourly rate that I have there doesn't necessarily going to reflect what I was given. That's just using, if I was to use all the money. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, I would give them, you know, my chief clerk that big a raise at this particular time, but over a period of time, you know, use it there.
Okay. You see his second page, guys, where he's showing you what his current, your chief clerk makes $1,392 and clerk number 2 $1,308. They're both relatively new. They've been with you how long?
Pam, going on, coming this August, she'll be there 2 years. Lynn started January the 1st or 12th of this year.
Irma, how does that compare to what your employees are making?
Comparison, the difference between them and Terry and Sherry, sorry. Terry has been working for the county for 20-something years. You know, Ken has been here actually, you said 2.5 years?
Going on, be 2 years in August.
You know, I worked for 9 years.
Yeah.
By the time that I left at 9 years, I was making only $13.25.
Wow.
Yeah. After 9 years.
Yeah, so you've got a whole lot more years under your employees. They've been there a lot longer than these 2.
Yes.
So
That's what I'm saying. I mean, by the time after 9 years, you know, actually she's taking, even needs a little bit of on the salary, it's because probably, the previous employer, that's what she has said, that, as far as for the years, after 2 years, the first time I got my first increase, it actually was like 4 years, then on the 850, and now after 4 years is whenever I got my first increase on the salary.
I'm aware, I'm not
Yeah.
aware of what's gone on.
I mean, we all want, more for our clerks, because of the cost of living, the gas goes up, the groceries goes up, and the salary just goes just a little bit, and like I said, I cannot compare the salary, because 2 years experience, with 20-something years is a big difference. You cannot put it in the same.
And I'm in agreement with that. I have no idea what, her clerks are making.
Well, I'm fixing to bring, she's got a copy, Sharon made me bring me a copy of everybody's hourly rates, just so you'll have that information. She's gonna fix to bring me a copy of that.
Quite an increase.
And the reason that I'm doing this is I firmly believe in taking care of the employees and giving them what they deserve. I understand this is, taxpayers' money, but the cost in rehiring or hiring someone else and training them everything would, be probably much more, in short term than, keeping somebody here and, making it worth their while. So I'll be honest with you, I've got a lot to learn about the, accounting process. I've done this with employees, with Lumen, of course, Lumen's one, it's gone now.
Well,
and I understand, if this hasn't been done,
well, we're not in an argument. I'm here to listen to you, and you're here to listen to us and understand what some of the restrictions we deal with. But, if you look at county employees as a whole, I'd say that generally speaking, there's a real low turnover in county positions. Why is that? I don't know. You can argue several reasons. And if their pay is truly not where it needs to be, why are we not losing more employees? I don't know. You got to factor the work environment, the demands of the job, the hours of the job, holidays, benefits, et cetera, et cetera. But we all can relate to wanting our employees to be better paid. Is there any additional information you can give us to help us understand whether these two rates are really out of line, or are they not out of line? Or
I have no idea what the others are making, so I wouldn't know what the outline is coming up. Next year I'll be more prepared for what.
Well, you're not ever going to necessarily have access to what, all the employees are making.
That's almost a 20% increase in that one employee.
That is if I was to go that far.
That's tremendous.
Yes, sir, but that doesn't mean that that's what I would be giving her. That would be the possibility of future increases as she goes along without having to increase our budget in the future. The budget would be the same as far as the salary.
Well, that's an 11% raise, and then the other one is 5 and 11%. And you're trying to get more differentiation between your chief clerk and your, what do you call the second in command?
District clerk.
Okay.
District clerk. That's correct.
So, how do y'all feel about this, guys, if in a situation like this?
I think it should be across the board, just like the rest of them. You can't have exceptions.
I understand, this is, but, I'm not asking for anything else. Now, in 3 years, I'll be probably asking more for training. I've asked for, more training monies because we're getting low, but I don't think it was expected that we were going to be sending a new judge to school for 3 weeks, and at that cost, and some of the other seminars and stuff that I should be getting to do.
One thing that I think you can think about is, even if there's $8,000 budget, we've never spent $8,000. But we have spent, around $3,000 or $4,000. What Steve is saying is that instead of having a part-time person there, those two are going to do all of the work.
Absorb the load of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could see, where you could give, I don't know whether it adds up to $5,000 or not, because we haven't ever spent $5,000, and you're still wanting to keep some money back. But you could make an argument that they're picking up additional workload because we're not going to have a part-time person there at all.
Yeah.
And we have to have a part-time person.
Okay, you've been given some pretty sensitive information here. I'd just soon keep this off of the record there. You can refer to it as you would like to.
That shows you by the department what everybody's making.
When's the last time you had a part-time employee?
March this year when she retired, and I hired another one in her place, and it just didn't work out for several reasons. One of them mainly is because she was trying to get her, 15 hours a weekend, and then that was in training and stuff, but it wasn't paying for her to even come in, so she pretty much lost interest in that. And I can understand that they didn't make it worthwhile for them. Another thing on the part-time, the $2,165 we got in that. Say if one of the clerks decided to leave and give me a 2 weeks notice, I could, you probably talk me into, holding off until we get somebody in.
Train somebody a week or two.
Training the part-time employee until the other clerk.
Well, it looks like those ladies have stepped up and they do a good job. You don't have to have part-time help, They're doing plenty of work, so they don't have to have part-time. So that's saving you money right there. And I give enough confidence, and you can tell me what you think you want to pay them out of your budget. You're still running your budget, and you're still coming in below your budget because you're still going to have that little cushion there of $2,100 just on that one line item. So if it's up to me, I would think I'd leave it up to you. That's your department, and it sounds fair to me. Keep it competitive. Keep your employee happy. And otherwise, you'd be hiring a part-time person anyway and spending more than what you're doing, just giving them a raise and making them more happy, more apt to get those jobs done they're doing.
Yeah, the ladies, they have taken, when one's off, Pam was off all last week. Linda did all the things that she was able to do. Myself.
They tend to business, and they've advanced really fast for how long they've been here, so not many people do that fast. It's good that they run it like it's theirs, and that's good. They really are good employees.
Some of the tasks that are minimal, or like when I do magistrates, it's just scanning them in, but that's taking their time to scan them in, so I can scan them in. You know, I'm already writing up, and I don't want to know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the record straight. Warrants, such as, we'll do warrants tonight, and then
So you would be in favor of allowing?
I'd be in favor of it. I think he's saving money, not hiring part-time. He's giving more incentive to his employees, making them happier, making them work. They're doing more work. They're taking more initiative themselves, and a lot of pride in their job.
And I do have to, I will say that I commend Judge Dunn's staff as well for helping when there's help available, you know, needed, and we're getting along very well in their training process.
We got good people.
The only thing to remember, John, is, you know, there's $8,000 budgeted part-time. We've never used $8,000.
Yes.
So
Never used it anyway, so probably still gonna have, in the long run, after a year, probably spending a little more money than we did this year.
Was that part-time person utilized when it was Judge McNutt?
Yeah, but we've never spent that much. You can see 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, to the extent that you've been spending money,
Yes.
it is a wash. It's not really a wash if I
Because they're using it. I see what you're saying, because now they'll be using that fund, yes, and maybe spending more than they would have.
That's right.
So it's new to me too.
Well, so he's asking you to redistribute $5,800, leaving $2,165.
We probably, the part-time probably would have made $5,800 one year. It was
No, 48, 50.
Probably 5,000. Yeah.
But right at 5,000. And I can, you know, drop that down just a bit, you know, make it, you know, increase the part-time budget. I'm just trying to get it around $2,000 mark, you know, for as even number as I can get.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from then. So it is money that's going to be spent extra.
If you would want to, I mean, you see what he's asked for. If you want to come up with a figure you'd feel comfortable with. I'm personally not comfortable with moving all of that and having that redistributable among 2 people.
Okay, I see that.
I think it sets a dangerous precedent that we are not necessarily going to be able to afford in other departments now.
And if that sets a precedent, excuse me,
that would open up a can of worms for everybody. I mean, everybody's going to be saying, take some of my tire money and I need a raise.
Where I've always left a little padding in different places. If they're going to want to use that padding to do something, well, I need to really...
Yes, and we just gave, everybody got raises last year for sure. We've had them for 9 months or so this year.
Now, if you feel like them taking on the responsibilities of the part-time person warrants some additional pay, you can factor that in. But I guess what I'm looking for is you've got $8,000 there in an existing fund that's not been fully utilized. You know, at best, half of it's been used. If you want to leave some of that in part-time and maybe reallocate instead of that 5835 between those amounts, I mean, I'd be willing to do some.
You know what? Most likely, I would not. I put the hourly wages up there to engulf all this, and you know the increase. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to give that large of a raise to the chief clerk. I just got it. In fact, I'm not. You know, that's just the highest figure that we're trying to.
I don't think we want to budget an amount that's not going to be spent.
Okay.
You don't want to budget $10,000 knowing you're only going to spend 9 of it.
Okay.
Would you be okay if you did $1.50? You know, $1 to the top one and 50 cents to the other one. That would be about $3,000.
That would be fine with me.
That would. pretty much cover what you've been spending on.
On part-time.
Then I would lower the part-time down to the 2,100. So we actually would have.
I'm personally not, I'm looking at that number 2 person, and I'm thinking they're about where they ought to be in comparison to other departments. That's my honest, that's my honest feeling on the deal.
So then you'd be looking at maybe doing $1, and that would be $2,000. If you gave the chief deputy $1 raise, that's $2,080.
That's more the numbers I'm thinking.
And we lower the overall budget.
The chief, there ought to be a little.
I'm not going to leave that bag. I'm not going to leave that bag in the part-time job. I'm going to take it down to 2,165.
Because I imagine when Pam was hired, she wasn't hired as the chief, was she?
Do you remember if Pam was hired? Pam was the chief clerk when.
No, I wasn't chief clerk when she was, when she was hired.
So she was hired in as a second in command, but now she's been thrust into this. She's been thrust into this position as the chief. There ought to be a little more differential between the two of them.
And I'm happy with that.
Well, I know you're not as happy as you would be with this other amount, but
Again, this is my first time.
I understand. That's why we're talking it out. You're not wrong for asking what you asked for. I encourage anybody to do that. That's how we have these discussions. But, you know, once you set this precedent, then they're going to be lined up wanting to do the same thing. And I'm not sure that that's I am sure that that's not the appropriate thing to do.
And Carl's right. I really didn't think about it. I would be actually lowering my budget by just giving.
Well, I'd like to lower that part-time line down to leave $2,000 in there, and then move $2,000 for you to allocate as you saw fit, with the emphasis on the chief position.
$2,080. Yeah.
And then leave $2,000 in the part-time budget.
Right. So his overall budget would come down because I would cut part-time.
That's fair for me.
And I would like to see you, if you're going to give that out as raises, I think that needs to be a chief deputy adjustment.
I'm in agreement.
Because that number 2 person is.
She just got here in January.
And looking at her in comparison to other comparable positions, I don't think it's way out of whack.
In agreement. One other thing, and I know I've done gone past my time, and Judge Dunn will go over about the camera. Judge Dunn's going to go over the camera system that we're looking at, and also Seth came by. You and I talked about the phone system upgrades or replacing with used phones. He came by Wednesday, and he's supposed to be getting back with us.
Okay. I've known more about that, and I'll get with you later on that. I think with one decision, we could accomplish 2 things. We'll fix your communication problem, and we'll give you connectability with the courthouse and the annex. And I mentioned that to the commissioners this morning, and I believe that that's something that I'll have on the agenda next week. I'm trying to nail down the cost on that. I think it's going to be somewhere, I can't remember what the cost is, but it's very affordable to fix your problem and get you linkability with the courthouse, 4-digit dialing and that kind of stuff.
Very good. Appreciate it, sir.
That would cover the whole building.
Any other questions for me?
No.
If y'all understand what we're doing there, we're actually reducing his overall budget by about $3,000.
Yeah.
It never hurts to ask. It generates good discussion, and we all learn from it.
Yes, and I appreciate it. Thank y'all for being patient with me.
And you're going to take that in your budget, and you're going to give those raises how you see fit to one or both.
I'm sorry.
So you can take that, and you can give that to one or both, or just the chief clerk?
Just the chief clerk.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, Irma, sorry
Hope
about
your dad's doing good, Steve. Hey, Steve. Hope your dad's all right.
I'm sorry?
Hope your dad's all right.
doing, well, I'm fixing to find out, but. he just
Hope
didn't-
everything works out.
Hope everything works out.
Is he at the hospital now?
Yes, sir, I just sent him off in the ambulance.
Okay.
Hope everything works out for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
First time I heard diagnosis at the hospital,
Hey. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, okay, I see.
How are you? I'm good.
Okay, Irma, you got 30 seconds.
I was at 30 to 45 minutes.
25. Then we'll give Judy 1 minute.
Well, I'm keeping almost everything the same. The only thing I'm asking is just about the same thing as Steve. You know, I'm asking for a 5% increase, you know, on the salary. This office have never had a part-time, you know, they always have been able to manage. The other office, I worked there, actually was not a need for a part-time person in there. Now, the girls, you know, work really good. They're always willing to help. They're always staying, you know, sometimes working during lunchtime. Sometimes we have even stay in the office. A little bit after 6 in the afternoon, especially whenever I'm on call, you know, they call and they're asking for warrants, you know, they're willing to come to the office or, like I said, stay longer. They don't come on Saturday and Sunday, but during the week they do. They don't get comp time, they don't get overtime. So trying to compensate, I'm asking you, you know, for at least 5% increase on their salaries.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at those rates compared to some of these other departments.
I mean, it would be just great, you know, if everybody can get just a set amount, you know, and that can be divided so everybody will get the
Well,
exact.
and that's everybody's wishes every
Same
year.
amount,
And I wish we could do it every year too.
Yeah.
But that decision as far as a countywide raise.
Yeah, that's what I said, I wish. Because
Has yet to
we
be.
can always wish.
Yeah, nothing wrong with wishing.
Yes, sir.
But we've yet to discuss that, but it's not going to be 5%, if anything. That's just the feeling that I'm getting here.
Uh-huh.
You heard kind of what Steve was talking about. He was talking about some inequities he felt like existed in his department. And I'm not sure that that relates to you or not, but nonetheless, we appreciate the fact that you would like to see your staff make more money. We understand.
Mm-hmm.
Other changes here, I don't even see any other changes.
No, I don't see, I didn't put anything for changes here. The only thing that we are looking, and I don't know if this will be the same place to talk about, we are having Mr. Newman getting, well, actually Mr. Newman has given us a bid, you know, to change the camera system on the outside of the building. The cameras that we have, you know, they're obsolete, and actually, you know, whenever, and this happened a couple of months ago, we have an accident, and whenever they actually expand, you know, to the camera that's to the full screen, you cannot actually see anything.
An accident where?
Yeah, a lady hit another vehicle right there on the parking lot, and they were trying to figure out who was the person hitting the car. You know, and whenever they expand, like I said, the cameras, you know, they are really blurry. There's really poor quality. So we are trying to get Mr. Newman to give us an
So these are the external cameras.
The external,
not
no, the
security.
inside, just the external cameras. We have 5 cameras outside. You know, and that's what we're trying to look and see if we can have it replaced.
How often do you have to refer to this?
I believe these cameras have been there for over 10 years.
Well, how long do you have to refer to look at the data on those cameras? In other words, how important are those exterior cameras?
Well, they have to sit there, I guess it took probably over a day before they were able to see something, because like whenever they zoom, they cannot see the license plate, the vehicle, you know, there is no clarity on them. You cannot even see the person's faces.
Well, but is it our responsibility to figure out?
No, but it's
whose
the
fault
same
is
thing
the
is for
wreck?
security for the building.
You know, I mean, it's just not for vehicles that get hit in there. You know, if it's one of the patrol cars that we have there, it gets hit by somebody else, we'll not be able to see that person too.
Well, and I'm not arguing with you, I'm trying to decide, why should we have external cameras?
We took
over
that,
there?
actually, we were based on that situation, you know, to decide, you know, I think it's time for us to change the security system on the building because the quality is not good. We can't really see, you know, we cannot, like I said, if individual breaks in the building.
Maybe that'll be a security fund.
Yes, that's what I said. I don't know if I could bring that in here.
Did we just replace?
We're still in the process of doing that, but I think it's a little bit of a different situation. But nonetheless, if we can pay, if that's a reasonable cost and we can pay for it out of the security fund, we'll look at that at that time.
Okay, so who do I need to bring that, the bids to? Is it to you or I need to bring it to Paul or?
Bring it to me when
Just
so
to
that
you?
we can, yeah.
Okay.
So he's putting that together right now?
I'm sorry?
Is he putting that bid together?
Yes,
now?
I got one, you know, in the office is, but we were thinking about it, adding one more camera inside the building as you walk in. We have two cameras, one in the front of our window and the other one in front of AGAN's window. As you walk in, and then we have the security deal, you know, as they go in the courtroom. So
Those can all be paid out of the security fund?
Yes.
Let's just wait and look at that, since that doesn't really affect the budget, I don't
okay.
think.
No, that's why I asked if it was going to be, I mean, if I could bring that up here to you, just
Yeah.
bring the bid, you know, since it's coming out of the security.
Yeah,
So
we'll look at that for a non-budget discussion.
So there is not going to be a possibility for the girls to get the increase on their salaries?
I didn't say that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anything's possible.
Okay, so come back to this. This is the only thing that I need changes.
Al might vote for 10%. Anything's
Hey,
possible.
Mr. Riddle, you said 10%, I'll take it. If you say 10%, believe me, they will come and say, thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you, Irma.
Thank you, Irma.
Whenever you
Thank
get
you.
those bids on those cameras, do bring it back. We'll discuss that in Commissioners Court. And if we can pay that out of security fund, then maybe we can get that done.
Okay, so is there going to be possibly on the salaries, you know, for them?
We have not, as a court, discussed countywide salaries, so I don't know how to answer your question.
Does that go as a county?
My gut feeling is the commissioners are not going to be supportive of much of a raise, if any, this year. I'll just put it out there.
Okay.
That's just the vibe I'm getting. I haven't had a discussion with the court about it.
Got it.
Once we get the tax rates, then they'll talk about the salaries, because if they give you raises, they're gonna have to adjust it.
Yeah.
We have to look at the overall picture
Yes.
and see what the absolute increases we have to have that are non-negotiables, see what that does to our tax rate, see what that does to our fund balance. That's when we start talking about, is there room left for raises?
Okay. Well, we'll see what
Okay.
happens then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Irma.
Okay, Judy, well, we'll have a short one.
Yeah.
We'll have a short lunch, because I think we've got volunteer fire departments at 1. I hope somebody shows. All right, Judy, I don't see anything even,
I just lowered my office expense $1,000, and I didn't put any computer expense. I didn't know if I needed to or not. I didn't know.
We're still buying so many computers, they can spread them wherever.
as far as I know, yeah.
We've got some computers over in different
Yeah,
departments.
well, it's like I had to have a scanner the other day, which I just took that out of my regular budget.
So it looks like you've got plenty of room in office expense. I mean, are you anticipating any additional expenses this year? You only spent $700 of your $12,000.
Well, we haven't done the tax statements yet, so I have to prepare for paper and
Lots of
printing and all that good stuff. So by the end of the year,
Lots of ink.
it's close to being used.
Okay.
And I never know what what increase they'll have on them, so I like to have a little padding there.
And your Harris expense went up few $100s.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's 700.
How many employees do you have right now?
8. And everybody's talking about needing increases. I tell you, mine and Otto's been drowning over there, but I think we're finally swimming to the surface again. I've had some coming in at like 7 in the mornings to do dealer work and get caught up just because it's been so awful. Short-handed.
Well, when are you going to be ready to turn some of that over to those dealers? Wouldn't that help?
They don't want to do it.
Huh?
It's individuals. It is individual sales that are coming in so much.
Really?
Now, Elliot quit doing web dealer.
They quit doing it?
Mhm.
Well, that was the one that Chris was begging me to get you to do. I didn't even
He
understand
quit
all
doing
that.
it because we would look every morning and see how many, or afternoon, and see how many they put in there. And if they had 20 in there, a lot of times they were continually just putting paperwork in where they might get us up to 35 or so. And we had to have a stopping point because you also have the customers, taxpayers out there. And he kind of got upset, so now they come in and sit and wait on him.
No, I'm talking about, he was asking to be able, isn't there some of that function that they could do in-house?
That's what they were doing. They quit. He quit.
Well, how long did they do it?
Probably a year. But he got kind of irritated because we weren't, we had to have a cutoff time. Because then you also have to do your ACH to the bank.
Okay, so he did start doing his own, and now he's
And
giving it
now
back?
he's quit, so,
Okay.
there's some people you just can't please.
Okay.
So it's his choice. If he wants to let somebody come in and sit there 2 hours, that's fine. We don't care.
So you're fully staffed right now?
We'll be as of the 17th, I will be.
And that'll be a staff of 8. And about, how does that break down? 5 and 3, 6 and 2?
5 and 3.
Okay.
Five and Auto. Could use 6 or 7. We can't grow any. We don't have room. But anyway, it's working. It's just been very difficult, but we're beginning to get to the surface now, I think.
Okay. So the one request that she's got, she's backed up there on page 2. That's just her, they tend to tweak that up each year. That's just a fixed cost that she has to pay to maintain that specific software that she uses. And that's your auto software, or is that your real estate software?
It's property.
Property.
Now, the state furnishes all of our.
All the auto, that's
All
what
the
I thought.
auto.
Okay. All right, if you don't have any questions for Judy, we'll let her go. I'll let y'all get
All right.
a sandwich.
All right. Thanks, guys.
I think so. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Miss Judy. How's Danny doing?
Thank you very much.
How's Danny doing? I'll tell him I said hello. Tell him I said hello.
He's still bothered. Other than that, he's good.
Tell him I said hello.
Thank y'all.
Thank you,
See
Miss
you
Judy.
later.
I did. On the fire department, something I noticed if we go down there, it's a cab chassis, you're gonna go.
Well, I just don't know if one of them's gonna show up. I mean, we don't wanna all be gone if one of them's gonna show up. So if y'all wanna go grab a sandwich or go
But
do
the
something.
cab chassis is supposed to be for Argo this year, so we've decided.
The what? Oh, the cab chassis.
Yeah, for Argo, they're trying to give it. That's the one you want to give it to.
Who gets it this year?
It says Argo up here.
It's a new one.
Everybody else is the same?
Yeah. Unless they ask for something different, they don't usually ask for anything different.
Well, I do want y'all to start thinking about whether or not we need to go back to the pay per call, because there's some real inequities among these departments.
Who's showing up? Who's not showing up?
Yes. And we keep paying out the same amounts, and
Nobody shows up. And they
nobody
get paid the
shows
same.
up. And,
say they're broke, but where's that money
So
going?
you talking about the volunteers?
Yes, sir.
Right, I thought I was paying a difference because there's different pays. in either
No,
one.
it's just the amount of calls they make. They're not making as many calls as the rest of every other departments are.
You're talking about for the.
And I don't know what would be the fair way to do that. Do you rely on Chief McRae's figures? Do you rely on them to report? I don't know.
Do y'all have do y'all have Trilex?
Don't
Yes.
see it. Is it here?
It's in there.
I didn't see Tri-Lakes.
Sugar Hill, I don't see Tri-Lakes in here.
I didn't see Tri-Lakes in there. Or Nortex.
Okay, I've got to run a couple of errands. I'll be back at 1.
Okay. Bring me a sandwich.
Bring this in. I don't know if I'm gonna have a sandwich.
Carl can't put his golf shoes on. That's the best guy.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I was waiting on Carl to get back, but it's, just for the record, it's 1:12, and we are back from recess. And we have one final item, and that's to discuss budget needs for the upcoming year with our volunteer fire departments. Who would like to go first? All right, we'll go right to left then. All right, Chief. Make sure everybody's got your page in front of them. The one with, it says Cookville.
I've got a migraine coming on, the reason why I want to get done and get out.
Well, this will soothe it, I promise.
I'm sure. On our budget, as far as I'm concerned, everything looks real good. The $5,000, just out of curiosity, the $5,000 at the top, what is that a line item for?
What is it? Say it again. What is it? What is it for?
Yeah, what is the line item for?
Run money.
For run money?
At the top.
So whatever you turn in for your runs.
Well, they don't turn in any run money. That's a fixed amount, is it not? I mean, it's all the same. Those first two lines, or if not all, the first three lines are all the same for each department, I believe.
Well, it's the year-to-date amounts that's used. That's why, that's what they turn in and we pay. Then they give their the statement thing that they do.
Okay, so there is still, then bring me up to date then. What is that top line? How much is that?
That's the volunteer pay money, isn't it?
But is that determined, what kind of documentation supports that? Okay.
Once a month, yeah.
Each organization, it's not a standard amount like they get on our recurring runs that we allocate them monthly stipend every month.
The 14.4 is the fixed and the 5,000 is the flexible. Okay.
All right. The question, I guess the other question I have is, we, grants and all the rest of it, and I'm speaking for Cookville, and I know everybody else is pushing for grants also in different areas. Grants are something that comes up with anywhere from a 10% to 25% that the volunteer fire department has to pay as grants are allotted. We just had a $20,000 grant on rescue equipment. All the rest of it, we're finishing off that. Actually, I think that's completely finished now. That comes with about a $5,000 hickey out of the volunteer fire department. And is there any way of I know before y'all paid a portion of that or all of it most of the time. Is there a way of either adding that as a line item for different grants, or is that not? And we don't always get them every year either, so.
Well, that's why we don't typically budget them. We'll deal with them as they come along. We just ask that you let us know whenever you're applying for a budget so we know what the potential hit
Well,
could
some
be.
of these grants are, some of them go 2 and 3 years old before they ever pay out.
We
And
understand.
some of them go 7 or 8 years.
That's why there's no point in us trying to budget for them.
Okay, all right. Well, other than that, that's the only thing we do have coming up that we would ask the court to consider. We have $5,000, I believe is what it is. That's the added amount to the that grant that we had gotten. So that's all extra that we'd be looking for if we could possibly get that.
And 5,000 would be the impact to the county?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that could fall in this current year or in next year?
It'll fall in this current year. That's the reason why I was asking about that 5,000. I see now where it's being taken out of.
Well, unless you feel with pretty much certainty that it's going to happen, we just have not been budgeting. We haven't been budgeting those.
Right. Okay. But yes, it is coming up this year.
Well, but would it be potentially before October 1?
Yes, sir. We've already put in submission to be reimbursed at this point.
Okay. And it's and to go again into the details of what it's for?
It's for rescue equipment is what it was set out to be, from hose line repairs.
That's based on expenses you've already incurred?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We've already, we borrowed money at the bank to pull it off and to get it done, and got all of it squared up and done. We turned in receipts, I believe it was here this week. All the receipts have been turned in, and we had filed an extension in between and got some more time on it, because buying that stuff is not something that you just do real quick and overnight. It's something that has to be thought pretty thoroughly through on what you really need and what you can live without. And if you bought anything that's fire, y'all know as well as I do, Brother Parker, you know it's expensive. It just is. So.
Okay, you got your extension here. Have all the documents been supplied to them that they've asked for?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They'll over 22,000 whenever it's all said and done. Yes, sir.
Okay. So that'd be the only thing that's kind of up in the air, would be that potential 5,000 max to the county?
Yes, sir.
Or is it 5805?
Is it 5805?
Is that going to be all or nothing, or is it going to be possibly a partial reimbursement, or how does that work?
No, it'll be all. It'll be all.
All or nothing?
Yes.
Okay. And you have any idea of what percentage of certainty you think that's going to happen?
That we're going to be reimbursed, 100% certainty. We've never been not reimbursed before. If you get the grant, you're going to be reimbursed.
Well, have you been given the grant?
Yes, sir. We've already been given the grant.
Well, see, see, I didn't know this. A lot of times these grants you don't know until you've been awarded. You're saying you have been awarded.
Yes, sir. It had already come up, I guess, 2 months ago, and it's been in for 2 years or a year and a half or 2 years, I guess now. And it came up about 2 months ago, and we were behind on catching that we did get the grant. My fault, because I didn't check my emails properly. It went over to spam.
So, okay, so you're asking the county to pay for all of that?
No, sir, just the 58.
Oh, no, all of the 58.
If at all possible.
Okay. And how much of that would you be capable of paying? None of it? You've paid for everything. Now you're just looking at
we borrowed the money to pay for all of it, and if we had to pay for it ourselves, we'll pay for it ourselves. That's fine. But it does put us to where if anything major happens, a blown out tire or anything else, here we come to Commissioners Court because we're out of money.
Okay.
It's a cost share deal, Brian, that we've done in the past is what he's asking for. Our share would be, the county share of the fire department shares is 25%. And
I don't think I've ever dealt with one of these.
You hadn't?
Should have.
No?
We've had tankers bought here and everything.
Well, I know,
same thing.
big pieces of equipment. This looks like reimbursements for lots of small stuff.
There is lots of small tools, yes, sir.
It is for rescue equipment is what it's.
remember dealing with one where you're reimbursed for actual expenses. I always thought those were, well, if you're awarded, then you've got enough money to buy that truck or whatever the large piece was. Okay. Give us an update on what else is going on in Cookeville. What's your chief status? What's your run status?
I'm still chief there. I think we're running probably, I would figure around, I think we're at 100% running the last couple of months as far as personnel. And we have 5 new members that's on the volunteer fire department. I don't know that all 5 of them are going to continue to be members. They will probably through this year. And as soon as they go through the fire academy, I'm sure they'll look for a job somewhere else.
How many active available personnel do you have right now?
And we have we have 6 that are sure enough going to be there. We have plenty of others that's on the roster, but just if they're there or not, that's it's a flip of a coin if they
Well,
make.
when you were saying that 100%, what did you mean by that?
Making calls, as far as calls go, yeah.
Okay.
Because I mean, but I think it was in February we had it said that we were non-responsive because we had 100% absentee out of 1 call, at that month, or it might have been 2 calls that month. That really doesn't reflect very well. You need to go backwards a little bit farther than that, look at the absenteeism of the volunteer fire department. There's going to be times where every one of these volunteer fire departments are going to miss a call, period. It's just in a bad time and everybody's busy doing something. So it's hard to say volunteer fire department's going out of business because they missed 2 calls in a month's time, and that's only 2 calls they got.
Well, the report I was giving him showed more than 2 missed calls. I don't know if his data is wrong. I don't know, but I shared the same information with the commissioner.
I look back on that time period, and I believe it was 2 calls that was missed, and I think one of them was the other one was EMS or something other that we're looking at a first responders group. There's a lot that goes on into that, and so you have to have personnel that's capable of making those calls first thing and willing to do it. And we have a gentleman that's in the Cookeville district that's willing to take this thing on, and he works for EMS up here in Mount Pleasant. So this is something that he loves and has a passion for. As long as he stays here, everything will be great. If he goes away, things might be a little different. We may not be able to make the calls that we were intended to make via the first responders group.
What is the function of that first responders group?
It's for cardiac arrest. People who are in the county where you've got 12 minutes between the ambulance getting to and on scene, where the volunteers are there local, and the first responders can go there and start chest compressions or whatever it is, give information, updates on what the situation is to the hospital, to where they can determine if they want to launch a helicopter. There's a lot of things a lot of information that can roll back to the hospital to make them decide what they need to do before they ever get on scene. And seconds in this first responders and really fire also. Seconds is lives usually. If you can get on scene and start CPR, it's a big deal.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else we need to know?
No, sir. Not that I know of.
All right. Okay, we thank you.
Yes, sir.
We get a chance to discuss all this. We can discuss everything on here, but specifically that 5,800. I can't make any commitment right now until I get a chance to have these guys weigh in as we continue our discussions.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Chief Clark, you ready? I told your wife to come in here where it's cool. She's sitting out there in the hot hallway.
She didn't want to come in.
It's all right.
I think she did it last year.
Okay, do I have your sheet?
Yeah, it was in there.
Here it is. I just had it stuck behind one. Never mind.
The first line item that you were referring to, that, as you can see, in 2017, we only used $1,900 of the $5,000. In 2018, we only used $3,700. This year, we're probably going to be half that amount. So I think the $5,000 was just an arbitrary figure that y'all set when you first set this up, $5,000 per department.
Yeah.
So we've never, as long as it's been in existence, have ever used the $5,000. So I guess.
How is that calculated, Carl? Per run, per firefighter?
I just estimated the deal. What we pay out is on a per run basis. You know, this year's been a wet year. Some years.
But I mean, how is it calculated? $2 per person per run?
It's $8 per person.
Yeah.
$8 per person if they have no training. If you have wildland and engine module training for fighting wild grass fires, you go up to $10. If you're a firefighter 1,
okay,
through certification, you go to 11. If you're firefighter 2, which is your highest certification, you go to 12, and that's the max you can get.
Okay. So you still think between now and the end of the year, you may end up at 2,500 or so?
Yeah, it just, because of the wetness of the year, of course, it could dry out and.
Yeah, you may need
never know.
Making runs every day.
I guess the third item is something we've always used for sending firefighters to Texas A&M for that week to help them with their room and board. The next item is the hose fund that you helped us with for the last few years. So the only thing I have to add to.
What fund did you call it?
The hose fund?
Hose.
New hoses.
I called Texas Forest Service this morning just to see what the status was on the big trucks. 5-star is number 32 on the list for a tanker or an engine. Sugar Hill is number 34, and Cookville is number 53. But I imagine that Cookville number will drop because they lost part of their area to Argo. And your number rating is ranked on how big of an area you serve, and that has a lot to do with it.
Okay.
So they're averaging, their budget right now, I think, is $17.8 million a year. It was $34 million. So at $17.8, they're only funding big trucks. I think it's 5 to 7 a year. So being number 32 for 5-star, that still means you might be 5-6 years out before we see another big truck grant.
Okay.
In the past, I know Wesley was talking about the small grants. I'm pretty sure we've never gotten the small grants. It was always up to the department if they filed a small grant for equipment to take care of itself.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, maybe that's why I don't ever remember one of those.
Yeah, we've never done that. You've always helped us out with the big equipment,
stuff,
but
yeah.
not the small stuff. So that's pretty much it for Sugar Hill.
Okay.
Yes, add in there that we are hurting for people. I was just reading an article this morning for Wisconsin has gone into a state of emergency because they don't have volunteer firefighters to man stations. They can't even get them out the door, and they're kind of blaming it on the millenniums, but I think it's just the state of our economy. We had 3 people apply this year, but when you start explaining to them the training they need to have, they just think it's like the good old days. It used to be you join a fire department, you make a call, you go to the station, you drink a beer, and you go home. And it's just not that way anymore. So I noticed 2 of them that applied, they were working a full-time job and then had a part-time job, and then they had kids in school, so it's going to be hard to pull from that group of folks.
Yeah. What's your current staffing?
Right now, we're at 6. At 6. We lost 3 this week.
Golly.
The one that we lost has only made, I went back and looked, 7 calls in the last 2 years. So that was pretty much just a name on paper. And the other 2 were pretty active. So it'd be hard to replace them. The word I got, and I've been out for surgery, so I haven't had a chance to talk to them. But they told a member of the Mount Pleasant Fire Department that money was an issue and they were going to have to go out of town to get work. And that's usually the biggest reason we lose them, is money.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's hard to replace somebody that's active. And what that leaves me with is I'm 72, Brother Vanderveer is 83, Larry and LeBon are in their mid-60s, my wife's in the mid-60s, and Sydney's probably going to be the youngest one we got. So, yeah, that's what we have to deal with.
What's your retirement plan?
I guess I'll probably die on a fire.
Okay, well, I won't say that's good news.
No, my hopes were with Sydney joining the department. And I don't know if you know Sydney. He started out at Mount Pleasant Police Department, and then transferred to Longview and retired out of the Longview Fire Department, or Police Department. And he just graduated from the NTCC Fire Academy. He was a half a point off a salutatorian. So he's been a great asset to our department. He took his state exam and passed it, so.
Great.
I was hoping that he was my ticket out.
How long have you been part of the department?
2 years.
That's great. Okay, no possible grants then, as far as you're concerned, that we ought to discuss or we need to know
We
about?
had small grants in. One of the big items, and I think Jerry Ward has had a problem, is our air packs. The bottles that go on the air packs are only good for a 15-year shelf life. Mine have 3 years left on the shelf life. The bottles are $1,000 a piece, and we have 16 of them. Jerry was lucky to go through a company called Dalmatian and got a pretty good deal on his. But they went into bankruptcy, and hopefully they're coming back out. Telco went through Dalmatian, and they were able to get the bottles for $500 a piece. So, yeah, refurbished.
Oh.
But I've submitted a grant to Forest Service last week for $15,000 to cover the cost of the bottles when they're expired in 3 years. So hopefully that grant will come in. Your small grants are usually 3 to 5 years when you get them out of the Forest Service. So I was hoping that we'd get the grant in time to cover the bottles. So that's our only big issue. So Jerry, are you saying on the small grants, y'all have not asked the county? No, we've never done that. So y'all been paying 25% out of your own? If we knew that we were going to apply for a small grant, we knew that we'd have the money in our pocket to cover it. So y'all have actually gotten some grants paid? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have. Jerry has. But I mean, whatever small grants you got, y'all pay for. That's just kind of been the ideal in dealing with y'all, the cost of doing business, is we take care of the small grants.
Okay, well. Okay, we thank you. How's your recovery?
1 week into it, a 6-week ordeal, so get better. I find the steps, well, I didn't make shit.
Okay, Argo. All right, Chief, what do we need to know here? It's your turn for cab and chassis.
We're satisfied with everything on there. We had put down for the AED, but they approved it this morning. So I don't know if you want to scratch that off of that or what.
Yeah.
We're looking to get a cab and chassis 1-ton truck or a brush truck in the future. We put down for $40,000. I think Dana or Jimmy, one of them said like the last one they bought was 33.
33, yeah.
So,
Do we know what department is up for that this year?
do what now? Oh, I don't know.
I don't think we've got one up this year.
We had it about our should be thrown in next because of the road trucks. Yeah, our trucks are 99 and 2000 model. They're hand-me-downs from Cookville, what they are.
Is that something we kind of evaluate each year, or did we not get a long line lined up there? How far out have we looked at those?
Well, Telco got it this year. We got it last year.
Yeah.
Five star the year before.
Nortex got it the year before that, and Cookville got it the year before that.
Okay. Well, there you go.
We definitely need it.
Yeah.
You don't have any old trucks you could give them? Is it going to take 40,000?
I don't know I hadn't really checked on the price this year, so.
You already have the spray rig on it, you just gonna change out, or you gonna get a new?
There's a skid unit on it we can change over.
For now?
I don't know if the Forestry Service still do ground clean for the skid units. Yeah. That's what I was thinking we'd probably put in for one from Forestry Service. But there's one on it that's not real old, on one of the trucks. So, you know, if we have to, we'll just change it over.
What did we have budgeted for that truck this past year? Do you know?
33 or
33 something or other.
Let's see, the year we did it out of Sugar Hill was about $30,000.
Why don't we budget 35,000? Hopefully we can do a little bit better. Was that a 19 that we most recently
I think
bought?
so.
I think that the Talco got was a 19.
And what brand was it?
Ford.
Because it come in the same time that my truck come in, so.
Took us 8 months to get it here.
Yeah, what was the deal there?
It lost it in transit.
I took care of Cookville when they got it. The Ford house out there is the only one that had the fleet deal. You could get showing up bargain on one. Now, somebody says that Chevrolet went to it now. I don't know if they have or not. I hadn't checked with them.
They are. It's through Caldwell, what is it? Caldwell County Chevrolet or something or other. I've got it at the office, I think.
But I know when I done Cookville, I got prices from everywhere, but the Ford house up there beat any of them.
Yeah.
Like I said, we went to buy board even though we get 2%, it was still higher, it might cheaper to get it here because if you have to service it, you know,
Right.
let them do it. You know, it's not, you know, if you had to do it, nobody from San Antonio wants to service. You know, here in Mount Pleasant, they don't want to service somebody's truck from San Antonio.
So in all likelihood, it'd be another Ford. I was just thinking about, it seems like Chevy and GM are coming out with a new truck this year.
Chevy has started, they're pushing their fleet sales more now. The price I got from Chevy, when I got all of my prices through the buy board and all, the price from Chevy was $84 higher than what the Ford house was up here. It was that close, so they're really dealing now. Chevrolet is. So
At one time they wasn't.
at one time they wasn't. They could.
Well, I think the 20 model is going to be a new model. I wonder if that'll bring a big price increase.
I don't know.
All right, let's put 35 down, if you would, Carl. How many? What do you have on your active roster? How many?
We probably got 6 or 7 active. We got 5 or 6 that show up pretty regular.
Were most of those former Cookville, or some of those new?
Some of them were, some of them wouldn't.
Okay.
But myself and Thomas, we're still on Cookville. We're still members there. But I told them I'd stay a member and try to help them, you know, when I could. But
Okay.
it's I about got my hands full doing what I do in this here anyway. But also, I was going to tell you on the budget deal, we put in a grant for a large brush truck, as they call it, or a tanker, if you want to call it whatever. But we're up, what I understand, in August. They're supposed to let us know something. But I think we moved to number 1 on it. on the list.
So that could fall in what year? After October 1?
I'm gonna say yes, because if they let us know in August, if we order it, it'll be 6 months out at least.
Okay. What's the potential cost, your cost?
They'll pay up to $200,000. And anything over that, what I understand we have to pay. And we've done some pricing on some trucks, and they're ranging from $220 to $245, something like that, is what they're ranging.
Okay. So that could be a real good possibility for next year?
Well, it sounds good, and I don't know, I mean, we're working with the state, so.
Okay.
I don't know.
That 225 to 240, is that also rigging them out? Getting them
Yeah, that'd be ready to go.
ready to go?
Well, I think we ought to, I don't think we ought to budget that. Can we just do like we've done in the past, deal with it if and when it happens?
Yeah, they're treated like emergency budget provision.
Well, they had one in August.
You understand what he's talking about on these grant deals, you know, that's kind of a crapshoot. They don't know how much they're gonna get, but we just asked that they kind of keep a surprise so that they don't just pop up and say, hey, we got the grant, we need $20,000. But the uncertainty is there, and so we haven't been putting it into the budget, which is to deal with it and find a way to pay for it with a budget amendment if they're successful in getting that.
That sounds pretty good.
Okay, Mike, anything else?
I think it's all.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's what we got the AED for. They know what the first responder deals. We are certified first responder at Argo.
As of when did you get that?
No. May sometime.
Just a couple of months ago?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And that's the reason we need the AED, really. But all of our other stuff we've already bought. We got it. We need this.
Okay.
Then, if we're gonna do the truck deal, they probably need to do that in October. Start getting that going, getting those bids in and stuff, start looking. Quicker, sooner the better in October. So,
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
It's
they
gonna
could go
take a
ahead-
while sometimes.
They could go ahead, and if they could go ahead and start getting bids and all, and then have it ready, you know, to finalize right after the 1st of October.
Yeah, sooner the
Then
better.
It's probably gonna be December or maybe even January, February before you even get it, if you get it then.
April.
Yeah. Because you put in for that one
In October.
in October.
It was
and-
August, we ordered in August, but we never got it till April.
Yeah.
April. I was gonna say February.
It come in, the way they talked to me when mine came in, it came in 2 days after mine did. And I didn't order mine until,
January.
somewhere right after 1st of January. So theirs got lost in the deal some way or another.
And plus-
If the paperwork is not turned in exactly right, they kind of throw it over to the side till they do it. So
And they got
it's
them-
one
they got
of
them
those
all.
deals that everything, and Cotton told me up there, he said, that won't happen again here,
They
is
got
what
a-
he told me.
Yeah, they got a
So-
truck that was supposed to be a short wheelbase, but they got a long wheelbase, and it was just, they had to go back and redo their bed, but like I said, well, they thought they've got somebody else's truck, and I said,
It
well.
was just a mistake. It wasn't a
Yeah,
production
no,
problem.
but it wouldn't charge any extra, so.
Well,
But it just- they
either
got-
way, the sooner you can begin that process, I doubt if you started today that you get it before October 1, and whether you're going to want to, I would imagine you'd want a 20 model, would be my guess, and I don't know what their production schedules are. I think Chevy's going to be new, and maybe that Chevy and GMC. So start
I'll get
inquiring
some
now.
prices, start getting them together.
Dana can kind of tell you who he dealt with. Who'd you deal with down there?
Cotton Gas, Gary.
Cotton Gas. Yeah, he's over the fleet.
He's the old Cotton Top guy down there.
Yeah, do you know Cotton?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Start those discussions now.
Like I said, he can tell you more about the due date when they're here, but like I said, that was a freak deal with Talcos. It just was never, they got lost, and it was set up there in the yard. Some train yard for 2-3 months.
Yeah. Mike, if you want that deal out of for the Chevrolet, holler at me and I'll look it up.
Yeah,
I've got all of those
check
bids
both
and
of them
all.
and see, but you can do the same thing, Sam. I
Can
think
you?
so.
Well, I called them and he said, let me do some checking, and when he called me back and told me it was in Caldwell County is where it was at, and but it was going to be FOB to Sandlands is what the truck was going to be, and it, like I say, it was within $84 of what the Ford House was, and but the time frame was about 2 months difference.
We dealt with Luke and Salmon.
Yeah.
And he had to have a check cut from Titus County for our sheriff. It was the only stipulation, but it's a government program that they're working with. And because we got it from Salmon, we got the warning from Salmon, and we get everything from Salmon. So it's good to keep it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially.
Yeah, I tried to do that when I done that for Cookville, but they didn't do it then, which that's been several years ago. But the Ford House, that was the only one that would do a deal then. And
On that tanker truck, if you're really pretty confident you're gonna get it, then I would say I need to budget to $45,000.
The how much?
The 45, well, they said it could be 225 to 245, so.
No, I said it was a tanker
I
truck.
thought it was 10%.
We said everything above 200,000.
They've changed those, I think, those grants, some of those grants like that, they've gone from
Oh, I got you.
from a 70-25 or 75-25 or 80-20 or whatever they were doing to just, they'll pay up to this much, and then anything above that, that you have to cover then, so.
Oh, okay. Probably should.
well, if we can get the grant, we're gonna do it. If we have to finance the rest of it ourselves, but we'd like to help. But, the truck we got now is an '86 model with a dump bed on it. Just made somebody welded a lid on it, made a tank on it. It's not too much up to par, but it runs 40 miles an hour, 45 top end, but it's not too much snuff. But
Have we bought anything under those new rules versus the old 10%?
Not to my knowledge, we haven't. No, not to my
They
knowledge.
just started that.
I guess the last ones that were bought were the 3 tankers that Winfield and which 5 Stars got now, and Tri-Lakes and Nortec were the I guess that wasn't that the last 3 grants, big grants that we got, Jerry, that you can think of. The last 3 big grants that we got was the 3 big tankers for Winfield, Nortex, and Tri-Lakes. Yeah, and that was still under that was a 70-30, or was it 80-20?
25%.
25, 75-25?
But we were getting them back then for 2.25.
Yeah, 2 to I think ours was 228 or something other like that.
But you have to spend at least $225,000 to get the $200,000 back from the forces. Because that's the max of that.
The guy at 5 sent me a picture of one 2 weeks ago now. They had built for somebody else, and they wouldn't take it, or something fell through anyway, but they was wanting to get rid of it. They had it marked down to 220, which was basically, the whole thing it didn't have on it we wanted was a deck gun. And it could be added pretty cheap, but I wish we could have jumped on it, but not knowing about the grant, it was kind of, but it may still be there when we find out too, who knows, but they don't sell real fast.
You might have.
He walked in. He's on the phone.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Sir.
Thank y'all for your support.
All right, Chief Ward. You good? Okay, did you turn one of these in? I don't even show one from you. Okay.
Nortex didn't either, Judge.
Thank y'all for the money y'all give us every month, and
What'd y'all have to pay for that?
We gave $38,000 for it, it comes with extrication equipment and pumps and a generator, 99 miles per year since we were running sure the pump's good. I think our payments were like $379 a month. That Gary bought back.
For the rest of your life? Goodness.
I don't remember now exactly what it was. But I'm just saying, the money that y'all helped us out with is money.
Good.
Keeps the department up, keeps it running.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. What's your staff these days, active staff?
Sir?
What's your active staff count these days?
There's 16 members. We got about, it's during the day, anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5, and this weekend, at nighttime, we have 8, 9, 10. We're pretty fortunate out there, I guess, in our group. We just had 2 finished EMT school, so now we have 4 EMTs in our department, which helps out a lot too. Plus, we run first responder for Titus County. Anytime anyone's dispatched to our district, we're
Yeah.
dispatched.
All right. No grants in the works?
We've had the equipment grant turned in. Wesley talking about a $20,000 grant, but when Winfield closed down, we said that would be bumped back a couple of years because of the point system.
Okay.
So we're looking at probably another couple of years. But then after he told me that, 4 weeks later, we got a skid unit grant. We bought a skid unit out of Arkansas for $14,000. And we went down to the bank and borrowed the money and then paid it off. So we got a new skid unit on one of the trucks coming out of Winfield.
All right. Good deal.
It's pretty good.
Okay. Well, thanks for what y'all do. Thanks for coming in, and thanks for not needing any more money.
Appreciate it.
It seems, I think that Chief McRae told me that this next year would probably be the year it's time to buy another big truck, another $500,000 truck. So what has it been, 4 years since we've seen? I think they're buying those every 2 years. That sound about right? You know, we buy one, then they buy one. I think it's coming up on us, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if that would be in the next fiscal year. I need to find out about that, but that could be a...
Except you can't buy for $500,000.
You can't?
I don't think it's next year's budget's the following, but we're gonna start negotiating.
No, I'm not talking about
That's
the
for the
fire
contract. This is for.
I thought they both kind of come up at the same time, the tanker and the contracts the same year.
Well, this is the big, what do you call it? What is that? What's the name? Is it a tanker? What do you call that
It's a pumper.
piece of equipment?
Yeah.
Pumper?
I thought it was gonna be about the same time.
About 680. And they're averaging anywhere from 10 to 15% increase every year. It's just going nuts.
But those trucks should last a long time. We've only bought 2 of those since I've been here.
Two engines, 2 original engines in my budget job. At least y'all bought one of them. They were bought back in 202.
Yeah, but we bought another one about 6 or 7 years.
It's not quite that long. Maybe, I thought it was about 4 years ago.
Or the engine they've got now.
But it lasted 10, 15 years.
That was,
A couple years ago, didn't we?
yeah.
I don't know if y'all helped on that one.
I think we paid half of that one. And I think that's what, isn't that what we,
I thought we bought the whole
We
thing.
bought a whole truck.
The whole thing, and then the next one they bought, and I think we're due next. Now, it may not be in next year, but I need to find out.
can't remember.
I thought it
sure.
lasted about 10 or 12 years before we bought one. It hasn't been that long.
I don't know. I just remember a discussion we've had
They don't put
recently.
that many miles on now using it much, so.
Well, their trucks, they had to put a new engine in both of them. So they rack up the miles on theirs. The ones for the county, they figured a new truck will last 35 years. So we don't put near the miles on it.
Well, but I think they're kind of looking at it as we're all in this together, and, you know, we're providing you with some services. You need to be paying for your part of that truck, whether they put miles on this rig and not this rig, kind of irrelevant. But I'll visit with Chief McRae about that. I'm just not sure.
We'd be hurt without that, I know that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
All right, y'all.
Go run around the track, Jerry.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Coburn here has got precious few days. Let's make the most of his time with us. Thank you for coming in.
Yes, sir. I just got on court not too long ago, so I was supposed to see if I could squeeze in.
Yep.
I was supposed to be here this morning.
Did you bring lunch?
What's that?
Bring lunch?
No, I didn't bring up. I didn't eat.
Judge wouldn't give us time to.
Oh, God, I didn't know that.
Okay, you've got his thick multi-page package that was at the top of your list earlier. And Shane came in and we left that division of pretrial monies the same. What do you need to tell us here on your budget for the upcoming year? You got no changes?
Yeah, no changes. I would like to keep the part-time, y'all had me a part-time person last year. I'd like to keep that person one more year. I don't think I'll need them after next year, but I'd like to keep the part-time person one more year with me being gone. Obviously, my salary will cover, because I won't be taking my salary the entire time I'm gone, obviously, so it should cover most of that anyway, so. I'm anticipating to be back. They're supposed to send me back the first week of March. I'll be coming back home, so. I may not be back to work the first week of March, but shortly thereafter. So basically no changes.
I don't have any part-time down here for you.
Well, the part-time was being paid out of another fund. But I just want to make sure that part, we still have the funding for that part-time person. It's not in my budget.
Do you remember which one it is?
I don't remember how that was budgeted.
About 18.
I will tell you, I asked, I don't know, I'm gonna sit in here, I'll have to find out what it's back for. I asked Shane after we left here.
It's in it's not budgeted. It could be this separate salary, part-time secretary.
But there's nothing,
Yeah, I'm here for you.
I mean, nothing busted lower.
Right, because he wants.
Yeah, I'll let that look and see what the salaries are. I'll look and see what.
Yeah, it's not part of my, the way y'all did it, it didn't make it part of my budget. It came out of some other.
Well, I usually move all those monies just over your budget, like I take. I take the hot check fund, there's not a lot of money in there anymore. On the pre-trial intervention, what I ask you, you know, we've been splitting that 10-5. And he has never used any of his, and I told him that it's built up to $10,000, his part has, it's in the fund. Your part I transfer over to you if you use it. And I asked him if he wanted me to keep building up a fund for him, or he didn't want to use it, I can certainly use some on your side. So he was gonna go check and see if there's some things he could spend it on, and he's not spending it on.
Okay.
And he's gonna get back with you.
Okay. But that's basically my situation, just leave everything status quo.
Okay.
I would like to bring up, I brought this up the last couple of years. And it's
Pull
not-
that mic over there.
It's not a crisis situation, but as far as a hand-me-down vehicle from, I'm not sure exactly what y'all do with those, once a sheriff's vehicle's kind of expired its useful life. I'm not sure what the process is of y'all getting rid of one of those, but I was hoping at some point to be able to take one of those old cars, because Paul's car's about had it. I mean, that car's been...
Why don't you have Paul visit with the sheriff and just plant that seed in the back of his mind when he's got some replacement vehicles that would be decent to let us know about that.
That's what I was thinking, when they're high-mileage cars that they're going to get rid of, if we could replace, I'll get with the sheriff on that.
You know, here's an idea, and I don't know why they haven't done anything with it, because I haven't been to a juvenile board meeting because they canceled the last one. They bought a brand-new vehicle for juvenile probation, and they've still got that Expedition sitting out there. I don't know if they're going to sell it or what, but I think that was a fairly trouble-free vehicle. It may have pretty good miles on it, but it's not a bad vehicle at all. Why don't you have...
Yeah, I'll do that, because
I mean, we need a...
We don't need a new
It
vehicle.
just sits here on our parking lot and it's just rotting away.
I agree. That's a great idea. I'll check into that because that'd be wonderful. I just, the last time we had to go to Rockwall, we usually take that vehicle, and Paul didn't want to take it, didn't think he'd make it there and back. I'm like, well, that's not good. We can't even get to Rockwall.
Have him talk to Brian Clayton about that.
I will.
I was going to ask that at the next meeting when we had it, is why are we still sitting on this vehicle?
Yeah, I agree. That's great. That's a great idea.
They were saying, well, it's not worth much. Well, fine, still sell it. But it's
that'd be wonderful.
Nice and clean on the inside.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a step above what he's got. It's probably not worth, $6,000.
That'd be good. I'll do that. That's really the only other issue I had is just, that it's getting to it's on its last leg.
Tim took one out of service. He's going to take one out, and so he may ask him about that too.
Okay, that's why I was asking y'all. I knew y'all were kind of involved in that process. So I'll call the sheriff and I'll call juvenile probation. Maybe we can.
Well, he's going to have to take one completely out of service, but they have 3 or 4 that's backup cars. Like I said, one of them have a flat, they'll go up and or something, have a battery go bad, they'll swap them out. And they crank them every Monday to make sure they work.
Lexi Reynolds. All right, that's it. That's all I have.
Look, Carl, on that pretrial reimbursement there, we're running at about 50%. Are our pretrials running that far behind what they were last year? Maybe they are. Shows we collected about 36,000 last year, if I'm reading that right, and we're at about 14.2 this year.
Well, my printouts show not like an old 33.
Well, I was looking on the first page, that negative figure, that reimbursement.
Yeah, that's not going to come in there.
Yeah, 33,000 and.
Right, here's what we draw from. And budget 15 brings in about 15.
Well, why does my budget show 33? What is this figure here? Well, 2 lines above it, there's 10,000 on that one.
Right, that's the one where you get this 10 out of that.
What that 33 is? Oh, okay, from the, that we collect from mostly from CDL drivers. We should have a decent surge here between now and the end of the year. I doubt it'll make up that entire amount.
That'd be 2 hour deal out there. They may have brought in a bunch in.
No, that's not what this is. This is like some of these CDL drivers that get speeding tickets while they're in their personal cars. 2018. Well, I mean, of course, that's just a crapshoot. We don't ever know how many of those we get.
But that's why I voted all that over. That free trial all over. The other split 10-5.
Well, in the time that we've got, what subjects you want to discuss here? We can do this again tomorrow, but back on that, while it's fresh on our mind, on that fire department request from Cookville.
Thank you, John Moore.
Do y'all feel the need to reimburse them, some, none, partial on those, on that reimbursement?
figured if they was going out for a grant, they were gonna pay the 25%. That's what I always figured.
Well, I'm
Plus
telling
on
you,
that,
this-
if it was 20,000, they done went over the $3,200. They want us to pay that extra 3,200 plus the 25.
The small grants, I mean, we hadn't anybody asked for them in the past. We haven't ever done that in the past, did I?
That's why it was so new to me. I was going, I've never seen this before. Oh, yeah, we've done those before. Well, we've done the large equipment pieces
They
before.
do get the 14.4, but we give them, and these guys are usually making payments on grants they've got, so. I don't have a problem giving them, but they have to do it for anybody else. I don't know how you're gonna, I don't know what you're gonna do with that.
I'm trying to put Cheryl on my project accounts, so somebody can write checks on mine, and they're asking for minutes. I don't know why, but the corporate people in here, they were requesting the Commissioners Court. Yeah.
Did they do what? Did we approve it?
We approved it, I don't know why it's trying to approve it.
Well, we don't have any minutes because we hadn't approved it.
Well, it doesn't do it. I don't know why. That's what they're saying. Here's the next thing. So we might have to put that on the agenda. We're going to actually approve.
You just need to put it on the next agenda and approve it.
Why would they have minutes?
Because they're not just going to take two county officials that might be colluding together, you know.
I think that's.
You do a background check on
That's
Cheryl.
standard procedure. That's very standard procedure.
Same way as a corporation.
Yeah.
All right, so y'all can do that.
No, man.
So you don't want me and Cheryl to be losing, that'll be a bad.
Yes. I'm gonna leave you trouble.
Okay, anyway, on
Back
that.
to the thing, he was bringing up something else.
What?
The small grants with fire departments.
Yeah.
I feel if they're gonna get a small grant, they need to have it in their checking account to pay their 25%.
Or be prepared to cover
Yeah,
it one way or
what's the
the
deal
other.
with Cookville? 25% of it would have been 5,000. Now it's
58,
I thought
58 over.
58 over.
yeah, it went over $100. They spent $3,000. So the small stuff, they should pay that. They should have budgeted that. And then
they're getting a grant already from the government entity. We'll think that's, at least
75% of it free.
Hurt Mike, if he had to pay it, he's gonna pay it really out his.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what
I just want to
everybody
be
else
sure
does.
if we do that, we're treating them the same as
Well,
everybody
we'll get
else.
hammered then because they're readily available on small grants. We'd be triple our budget.
Right.
Okay, so nay on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, you know, if he could use some of his money wherever it's going.
Okay, yeah, we're not going to approve that 5850.
This is the second time he's come and asked for money that we should.
Yeah, and the other question was that cutting that 5,000 that we pay every year to each volunteer fire department. No, the 5 was
That's based
up to 5,000 per call.
That's up to.
Okay, but the minimum, what was the minimum?
14.4, we gave everybody.
We pay everybody 14.4 a month.
At one time, way back there, we split that up differently.
Yeah, we started out like $500.
Well, your high volumes got like 1,500 a month, and mediums got,
Some of them, they went from about 18 to 12.
yeah, 1,250 and 1,000, something like that, then we evened them all out. So I'm not inclined to make a change there.
But, you know, Chief McRae, he has all the runs, copy of everything they got.
And his has to be turned into the state, so they are accurate.
Well, we get what we pay out every month. So they turn them in.
But
Hey, Brian,
Sir?
we did do this for Sugar Hill, I believe, we did the same thing for Cookville. They don't have $5,800. We loaned Sugar Hill's something like that. I mean,
Yeah, for that,
Took it
for
back
that,
out of their monthly payment.
for that brush truck.
He returned the last one down. He said he wasn't going to pay for it. We offered that to him last time, and he wouldn't.
But you can offer that to them.
Yeah.
Because we have to do a pay one for sure. We have to do the pay 166 a month off of the pay before.
Right, out of 14.4, you just back.
Because he was asking $20,000 to work on the pump or something on that big pink truck.
14,000.
He wanted us to pay.
Tanker.
He wanted us to pay it again. I don't know. You just, that big truck, when it's wet, you couldn't get it off the road. It's just too big. It's just a cumbersome vehicle. Because on Sugar Hill, when they turned that truck in, they took the payment plan. And
Who got the last trucks when they got a new truck?
Talco.
Does Talco turn one into the county?
No, we've never bought one from them before.
This is the first time we bought one for Talco.
What high-level subjects do we want to talk about? You've obviously had some conversations with these guys that I have not.
Well, the only things that I can tell you all is we'll get our valuation July 25th.
Pull that mic up.
Somewhere in that time period, we'll get our numbers. I'll be gone till August 5th.
Who you come?
Training.
As soon as I get
Training.
I'll be in training.
At the golf
When I get
course.
back that week of August the 5th, I'm going to take these two with me. We're going to go over to the appraisal district. She's got that software that works those tax rates for us, so we can see what our tax rate will be, what the effective rate will be. I'm hoping that the INS rate is lower, and we can use that money if you want to keep the tax rate the same. We can put it back into general fund and put it on roads on. If it's what I think it is, if it's a penny, that'd be $200,000 roughly. That'd be $50,000 to each precinct for roads, not for salaries, not for
The
anything.
penny coming from where? The increase in the property?
Well, I think my INS rate's gonna go down a penny,
Just a penny though.
just a penny. Now, there's another penny that we can talk about. I think it's gonna go down a penny because of all that refinancing we did. I think those numbers went
Well,
from
we
2.5.
completely dropped the 2004 bond payment. Wasn't that like $250 a year?
Well, there is another 250 there, that's right. Plus, I think on the loop bonds, it's
Refinance.
2.5
Yeah.
to like 225. It's another 200 there. The third place that you can get some money is we built up the construction fund that I'm fixing to roll over to the INS is about $2.5 million. That all goes to INS also. What I was telling Brian today is if you wanted to use a penny of it, $200,000 of it a year, that would last you 12 years before you burn it up, at least, really longer than that, because that money's going to be earning interest. So it would last you, the bonds are due at 32 or 33, so you could take that penny, you wipe all that money out by the end. But what I like about that plan is the taxpayers now are the ones that have paid that money in to build that $2.5 million up. If you wait and pay it at the end, it's going to help those taxpayers 15 years from now, but that's not necessarily these taxpayers.
Right.
That's new taxpayers, younger taxpayers. So I'm not sure it's not fair to get, to let them get the benefit of it now. So, that's possibly 3 cents. Now, you could actually lower the rate a penny if you wanted to, or you could take the whole 3 cents.
But it's getting started.
Put it on road. That would be about $600,000 every year.
That's a better plan.
So that's about a penny. We should have about a penny because we paid off the Harts Bluff / Chapel Hill right-of-way fund bond. And I'll tell you all now, it's not been public, official. I haven't seen it in writing yet. In fact, I haven't even gotten a call from anybody except Nate Prefert. But if you'll recall, the net RMA, where I've been submitting a project each year trying to get some money, we finally hit about $315,000 will be coming our way, which will go towards that Chapel Hill Road right away. So if we have some, we still don't know what it's going to cost to buy the right of way exactly, but we've seen a pretty good estimate. We don't know what the relocation of the utilities is going to be. We've got $3.5 million in the bank. We've got another $300,000 coming from net RMA. Surely we can pay for all that out of that fund. But that note payment that from bonds back in 2004 has been paid off, and that was about $243,000 a year. So that'll reduce our INS rate.
What I don't know how the formula works is I don't know if I'm allowed to move INS rate and the M&O rate without going over my effective rate. I don't know how that calculation.
You don't know if it's all lumped together,
right.
Or if it's.
I don't know how that works, and I won't until I go over there and see her work through the numbers. If they don't treat it like the whole thing's the effective rate, well, then I'm not going to use it. And it's just going away.
I thought they were lumped together and
I don't
come
know.
up with an effective rate.
I don't know. It's a very complicated.
That's what I'm counting on, but I could be wrong.
I don't know.
Well, with all this going for us, I don't see any reason why we ought to have a tax rate increase this year. I sure would like to keep it the same for once.
Well, the only reason you raise taxes would be if you were going to give it right.
Wait a minute.
That's the reason.
Is my mind gone? We're getting a lot of, we're getting a lot higher appraisals, lots higher.
No, not a lot higher.
Not a lot higher.
Some people's went way.
Some people went way.
Mine is, but countywide, it's not a huge increase, no.
Really?
But it is an increase. It's better than a decrease.
I just figured mine, like you said, everybody I know is going to be high. So, but that's not so.
We've seen the preliminary numbers, and it was way less than 10%, 5% or less.
We had a lot of people go up there and fight these cases.
That's right. It may end up that it's not any higher.
Right, because.
Well, but even before the protests, I'm saying countywide, it wasn't a big increase.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You hear from all the people that got hit hard on increases, but it didn't amount to countywide increase.
Right. Some were decreased.
No, but what Dana's saying is those numbers that you and I saw included those increases, and a lot of those have been rolled back.
Yeah.
So it may not be any.
But I don't think in 3 weeks of protests up there, it's going to yield a significant number.
We can that's about $200,000.
Yeah.
You and I looked at it. It could be $200,000.
In taxes?
No, in valuation.
Oh, more than that.
What is it? Maybe it's 208. It was 2.2 billion, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's 200 million.
I doubt if there will be $200 million worth of revaluations after those 3 weeks of hearings. Just knowing the kind of hearings that I know they were having, that were mostly homeowners and small business owners. Well, I mean, let's say that it was, $50 million. I don't think it'll be that much.
Whatever that number is, that affects your effective rate. It's going to affect the effective rate. What I don't know whether it affects the effective rate is when I'm able to get rid of 2 cents of IS.
Right.
If I get to put that, it's 2 cents of
We'll know that shortly after you get back.
Yes, we'll know that first.
You didn't get the email?
Huh?
You didn't get the email? You didn't get the email?
Which one?
They canceled your deal.
No.
Well, we'll have some big discussions after we get a chance to see that.
Yeah.
But I think we ought to be committed to not having a tax rate increase.
I'm for that.
But like I said, the only thing that you're saying is you're not gonna give it raises, because you can't, you don't raise it back.
I mean, you can do anything, but yes,
Well,
that's right. You can't give a raise that's gonna last forever based on 1 year's results, is what he's saying. You need to plan on that for the future. If you're gonna make a permanent increase in the budget because of raises.
Unless, if ideally we're able to go use the 3 cents and put it over in MO, and you want to use 2 cents for roads and 1 cent for raises. You're not changing your number.
Possibility. I just say we delay that conversation until
we got the facts,
after
yeah.
you see what these numbers
I
are
don't know how that
gonna
calculation works.
be. There could be, if that effective rate is not handled the way I'm hoping it is, with the reduction in our interest in sinking, then that kind of changes the picture. Were there any individual subjects that we talked about today? I think we took care of Steve Agan. I think we made a decision there on Cookville. Were there any others that we kind of left up
Ray
the air?
Barrett, did Ray Barrett, he ever call you back?
He did call me back. He's going to come tomorrow.
Who is?
Ray Barrett.
Talk about the OPC stuff.
I haven't talked to him. I just texted him. He was at a ball game.
He should be giving y'all like the Veteran Affairs guy. He should be giving you some kind of report about how many OPC.
They never have, but that would be a good thing to know. So when it comes time, when Ray retires, we've got a pretty good idea, because I know that my mental cases are running, are running high. I just don't know how many of them result in him or his staff having to make a trip. And we talked about a subject that will be very sensitive when it's time to discuss it, is if and when you make any adjustments on 2 constables and 2 JPs travel allowances. I have no idea how many miles those folks actually cover. You heard Chris tell you how much it is for him. So he is paid more for his miles than it costs him. But that is a salary item that effectively, in his mind, is salary. And if you go and change that, I think we need to make plans well in advance to make an adjustment there. But I know some of you on this board up here, including myself, took pay cuts when we changed our mileage. So it's not like others couldn't do it. I'm just making you aware of that situation.
I'd just like to see if they, keep a, so if you're gonna get that, I'd like to see what they do track.
Well, even if you said, okay, this year we want you to start keeping track of your miles, so we can see what's realistic. So
I see him driving a constable car around also. Matter of fact, one at his house, just not recently. I have some friends who live in the same street he does.
But that's his car. That's his own personal car. That constable car.
Black car?
Yeah, he's got it on his personal vehicle.
When they get that, they have to pay for that car out of their $15,000. And he puts the constable on the side of it. We pay for the license.
It's painted just like the ones that the sheriff drives around.
Well, it might be one of the old ones that is.
That's what I think.
That is volunteers supposed to be driving.
Yeah, you're right, because yes, that's right. So he's driving a marked constable car?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, I've seen it at his house several times where he lives.
I don't know why you would do that.
You got friends? You got friends?
Because he's not using that truck that car for any transport, as far as I know.
Well, except,
Does he have a cage in his personal vehicle?
No.
He doesn't?
Not the truck, his truck, it does not.
What about Ray, or are you talking about Chris?
deputies.
Both of them?
Both of them.
Neither one of them have.
Ray drives a truck. I thought he drove a Malibu.
Drove a truck. He had a wreck in Malibu.
He's got a truck that.
Well, why on earth would, well, I guess I have a bit of a problem if we're driving county vehicles with county tires and county gas and
you're
oil,
paying-
and I'm paying 15.6.
That's right.
I have that trouble all.
Amen, brother.
I did not know that.
Yes.
7,200 to JP's get, I'd have trouble with that. I mean, I believe we should reimburse anybody, everybody if they get it. And it's salary and it's a cover-up. It's salary that's been hidden from somebody sometime. And I think it's not right at all. I think it's wrong. But like I said,
Like I said,
the other side of the story, I got this job, I thought this was the pay, and I depended on it, and you come on and cut it, it's not quite fair, so that's.
Well, it's kind of like what John said.
Well, you did it. I did it. Judges did it.
What you hope would happen is somebody would run for the job, and part of
They wanted to do it,
what the
yes.
deal would be, I'm going to cut I'm going to change the way I do the pay.
Well, if we're going to make a change, these employees need to be informed that when it comes time for this position to be run for again, we're going to implement a budget change there. Now, if you want to give part of that to them and increase their salary,
Well, now, you could do that. That would
do
be
that.
a fair way to do it. They can decide whether they want to run or not run.
I didn't get increase in salary.
well, that's right. Okay, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, the only other thing, of course, I think y'all know this anyway, we've talked about it a couple of times. There is a lot of things we did this year that we can't, especially if y'all supposed to, there's kind of new to this.
That's right.
I mean, we bought all that equipment, all that stuff, because we had all that aluminum money. We basically spent all the aluminum money on the road equipment. I'm not saying it's not a good investment, but that's not going to be around for next year or the next year for y'all to be able to buy stuff like that. And your own individual budgets are going to go back down because we carried over a bunch of that 20 money and gave it to you. So I know all of you are budgeted based on that 525, I hope you are. And if we end up with this deal being able to put more money over there, then that's what we'll do.
But we're trying to base it off of 2016.
That's right. That's what you have to do. But we also hopefully have bought all the equipment we need to buy to be able to make the road system work.
Only other thing I might look at is like another steel wheel roller.
That's the only thing we could.
If we sell that distributor trailer, I'd like to get a distributor trailer.
Oh, yeah, we can't do without a disturbed truck.
I know, but if we sell the trailer, we could upgrade to a truck, it'd be nice.
Yeah, but you're talking about, we got 60,000 for that trailer, would be lucky.
220.
You're talking about 260 for, you're talking about.
It's 200, no, it's 191, so we'll be out 140, 150,000.
Well,
to go from the
if there is another piece of equipment you want, whether it's that or whatever, we need to put it in the budget. Because I can't
Yes.
really argue
Yeah, we need to
emergency
plan
budgets
this.
anymore because we're at a point where we need to know what we're doing.
Well, we had a pretty good lead on it. If we don't, if that guy don't come through this week or two, then it's not gonna happen.
We have a 1,000-gallon tank, so this is hot oil, so we have to keep it hot, so we have to keep it, trucks moving back and forth. 1,000-gallon pulled by pulled by a dump truck. The dump truck is hard to maneuver or hard to maneuver, and a truck is a 1,000-gallon, a truck is 2,000 gallons.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 trucks shuttling, just sitting there waiting to.
You don't have to sell me on it. You just have to tell me a number.
And we lose a dump truck too. When I'm way out south, or way up north, man, we need that extra dump truck.
Give Brian, give Dad, or give me the number. So we can put it in the budget.
Me and you both. We have to use our.
I got a full load of trucks. I got 3.
I got 4. I got 4 dump trucks.
We'll save those thoughts for tomorrow, but at the end of the day, tomorrow, after the district judges go on at 11:45, we ought to tell Carl how much these budgeted items you're considering for equipment are. Got to get that in the
Like I said,
budget.
like the roller, you know, it's, when somebody else is rolling the soft spot, you know, you're needing your soft, that's the only idea that we need another good steel wheel roller.
Well, one of the things, I'm just thinking out loud, one of the reasons that's a problem, we didn't have a trailer
To haul it, yes.
But now, it's pretty easy now. I mean, we got the hydraulic lift. We can move that one around a lot easier than it was a pain.
That was probably one of the best buys.
That's over with. That
One-
pain.
I
One
think
thing
I
that-
might be able to use one on the auction block sometime, get my own extra one someday. If I could
One
buy a cheap
thing
one,
that-
you know, it'd be neat to
You
go use
ain't
one.
got nothing ready yet.
Did
There
you
you go, man.
Did you find out if you could replace that with that kind of, on that trailer?
Oh,
Did you talk to Diamond C?
upgrade it,
Upgrade
I
that
just
trailer?
have a whole new trailer.
Oh, would you?
That's fine, my trailer works great.
One thing that I looked at the other day, you can get those, and the state's got them even, that they'll hook up to that pintle hitch. They've got a pintle hitch on there. They've got those hydraulic wheels and you can pull it around. That might be something that we could look at too.
I see Mount Pleasant City's got one I see around.
Yeah.
I've seen one at auction here, once in a while, I think it's $3,000 to $5,000.
No,
You know, get the job done.
All right, anything else?
Well, listen, I don't have my notes with me, but I'd like to talk to this man. We went to the unit system. I've got the numbers. It's really in trouble. We spent about $150,000 and $160,000 a year. Mainly,
You guys aren't even listening.
I got extra carriage bolts, that's it.
You want to bring, how about you bring your numbers tomorrow? We've got, our last person will be here at 11:45.
Get that monitor. What's the good one to talk about
we got those basics. These guys are the highest paid in the county.
Okay with you?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I've been around here a while. We run this.
We got them
The
right
way we run this shop.
We got.
It's really just flexible. Get back.
No, I'm just gonna put, I'm leaving mine here, I'm not taking mine.
And it goes in there. So the mechanic.
We leave it in court, can't we? In here, can't we? Why? You don't wanna see how much you make?
He just doesn't wait.
We have to send.
Wrong hands. I thought that a while ago myself. I've got mine here somewhere, but I
I
don't know
know
what
you cut me, I'm trying to cut you more.
I can't fix this.
Where you going? Hey, Carl, where you
Well,
going?
I moved it, I think, a while
Up
ago.
right where that amoeba's
I'm
at?
not for sure where I moved it to.
That's amoeba's at, that's
That's
that
all my stuff from there,
fleshy
so I know it's not in
deals
there.
up there.
Hang on.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Hey, we
I've got to go out there and do it. It's grass.
And this is grass.
oh, that's right, you don't go in the water, you just.
I go in the water too.
Unless you hit your ball in the water. Unless you had to hit your ball in the water.
Which that could possibly happen.
You know, they eat bad people, that meat.
How much they do, but there's no accountability.
They didn't bring theirs back that truck?
Okay, you may turn it here. Here.
Well, I-
Talking about,
I knew it was in that stack somewhere, but I wasn't for sure where.
Has nothing to do with that, you know, because they still ask me, as far as
I understand that.
get a major job, what do you think we ought to do, get a transmission or whatever? They go to me, I know they go to you. Well, it's just like it was, except you got two people making $54,000 a year. Plus,
Very good possibility.
it's just not right. I don't have the answer to get rid of one of them.
I'm fixing to turn this thing off. But George called me this morning, he said, hey, I'm gonna be there. He said,
Absolutely. They created one of those programs. And the reason about it, people got mad at me, and I said, I'll take that mad at me too. Don't send it to me. Stop tearing, gotta go and put it in. I said, the program we bought,
Just so that.
Yeah, I agree.
He said,
see it. Well, it's not public information. I'm sure it is. Positions are not
We just did this.
You said that. What you do there, it's going to be put over. He said, put back into zoning. That's what you said. They said 45, now you said let her go. He's going to tell us all. I'm going to call him back this afternoon.
Well, not just for my employees,
Look, that way you know how much you need. The time I got, they discussed it, they wanted to spend another money to get uniforms.
And I can't remember the cost on it.
And my part of them getting uniform, and they got mad at me, we was going to go for discussion, saying what they made in public.
That Terry could do it.
I just thought it was a point, they made this kind of money, and yet they want more from us, they want more.
I'm fixing to stop us.
Brian,
The point I was making.
you want me to stop this?
We need to adjourn?
Yeah, let's adjourn.
You want to get,
Need a motion to adjourn.
get them in here?
I so moved.
I don't even see them having a,
I thought maybe you had to have it.
no, I'll just tell her.
Okay.
Motion's made by
Second.
Commissioner Parker, second by Commissioner Applewhite. All in favor of adjourn, say aye. Aye.